call to order the January 27th meeting of the Dayton City Council. Please stand for the pledge. Oh, jeez. I keep thinking this. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need a motion and a second for the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, on the consent, need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Sarah, discussion?
This was just a question for clarity about the acceptance of pay equity compliance report. There was mention that there was more information about what all those things meant. Where do I find that?
So that'll be available on the Minnesota Department of, oh boy, I think it's DEED. I could send off the resource for you, but basically just Google Minnesota Pay Equity Report.
Okay.
And it will bring you to a resource run by the state.
Yeah.
And it'll say how to interpret your results.
Okay.
And then we are in compliance.
Yeah, so that's why I'm
but-
fine with
which is
passing it. I
good.
just was curious about
However, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of math on that stuff. so-
and weird math.
Yep.
So I just wanted to wonder where I could find the
Yeah, so
details
those
on that.
interpret your results is where it's
Okay.
at. And
Okay.
you can most certainly click on that and then read what it means.
Okay, thank
Have
you.
at it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
Not for the consent agenda.
You? Anybody?
I had one question related to item D, the zoning ordinance amendment. I'll get through that. This was residential district special requirements related to the change in parking. And in the discussion, we talk about 2 stalls per 2,000 square feet of building, but in the ordinance, we say two stalls per person, and we're changing it to 3. Do those 2 automatically equate? Is it 1,000 square feet per person? Is that how you calculate that?
Yeah, I think that I actually conflated the two types of calculations in the staff report. Basically, the change is from 1 spot per 2 guests at maximum occupancy to 1 spot per 3. That's the way that they do that based on how many people can an assembly hall or an event center take on at their max capacity. Not necessarily comparable to, say, manufacturing is 1 space per 2,000 square feet. So I don't know if they are comparable of the two, but I think that that was just a mistype on my end in the staff report.
Okay, that's fine. It just kind of seemed like we were switching from feet to meters there or something.
Yeah, no, not the intention. I think I actually did that on the PowerPoint in the Planning Commission meeting as well, so.
Okay, thank you. That was all I had.
Nothing else? Anybody else have anything?
Not on consent.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Open forum. Limited to 3 minutes for non-agenda items. State your name and address. No council action will be taken. Items will be referred back to staff. Is there anybody here for open forum? You know, that's really distracting.
Sorry.
The TV is out here for open forum.
Nobody? Anybody online?
We do.
Okay.
It looks like Ashley, can you please unmute yourself?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep, and then can you just state your name and address for the record?
Yep, it's Ashley Winters, 13440 Arrowwood Lane North.
Thank you.
I want to bring up 2 things, if I may. The first is encouraging you all in the city of Dayton to look at programs that would give residents grants for what one would call a curbside appeal grant. From my research, quite a few of the cities around us in the suburban areas offer these certain types of grants for their residents to help with what would be considered curbside appeal. Those things could be like a new driveway or help with paying for that, pavement, landscaping, other certain items that would give that curbside appeal. These grants would be specific to the age of the home, years of living in the city, to name a few of what I've seen. In most of the cities that I've seen, there really was not an income requirement for that. I did find it surprising that I haven't really seen anything, especially for this city, considering that there's a lot of longstanding residents that are not new builds. This could help keep up with the ever-changing landscapes of this city, especially in Dayton, where everywhere you look, there is a new build, and to help bring some life back to the homes that many long-year residents that are not in new builds would benefit from. And the second thing that I wanted to at least just bring up is regarding the proposals for the senior care, memory, and assisted living complexes. I am 100% for those type of businesses to come to this community. I know as a resident, if I had a family member that was in need of care and I could have them be in my own city and backyard, I would jump on that. One thing that I just wanted to raise and make sure is on the radar and that is thought about. There's been a lot of recent articles and stories on these facilities, specifically in regards to their policy on what they would call falls of the residents. An overwhelming number of facilities have changed their policies that the staff is unable to assist with the fall, and instead they have to call 911. Given the current capacity of our fine first responders, it could cause an influx in these type of calls for the department, but I think at least it's something to consider and be made aware of if that hasn't been thought of. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, so Mandy, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you just state your name and address for me?
Yep. Mandy Hoffmeister of 18740 Robinson Street.
Thank you.
Hi. So myself and at least 45 other residents of Dayton are petitioning the city to remove all 8 flock cameras in Dayton and terminate its relationship to flock safety systems. So last month, Flock Systems LPR camera was installed directly across the street from my front door. I didn't even know what it was, but when I looked into it, I was very alarmed to learn that these cameras store a detailed record of everyone's movements, associations, and routines, which is a violation of privacy and safety. The important point here and why it matters is that these aren't just regular cameras and they're not being used in the way that they're intended or marketed. And Flock isn't disclosing the ways that their technology can be manipulated because, well, why would you if you were making a sale? But the reality is the data collected and forever stored in the camera system is easily accessible to outside entities such as hackers, foreign spyware organizations, and other criminals. There's more layers of protection to sign into your own email account than there is to gain access to the infinite personal data stored in these cameras. There's no concrete evidence that they solve crime more quickly, but they are creating criminal activity where there was none, including documented cases of stalking in other cities. And while I shudder even thinking about how the camera outside my door can track the moment I leave for work and when my house is unattended, this isn't just personal to me. All of these cameras, which there's 8 around the city, continuously track you, your family, and everyone's movements in and out of Dayton. So unauthorized viewers can see when you're home alone or when you're at work or running errands, which for clarity is private information even when you're out in public. But if we don't know who or what is accessing all of this personal information, it leads to innumerable possibilities for threats to our safety and documented instances of misuse, which could also put the city in an unfortunate legal position that I don't want for our leadership. I wanted to be clear that I'm speaking specifically about bad business by a company, Flock Systems, that has no oversight for their products, which is dangerous for consumers. Theoretically, the idea behind the cameras is useful, but put into practice by a kind of scammy company that assures that is assuring users no biological data is recorded when it is, and states that images are deleted after 30 days when they aren't, makes the city more at risk and cancels out potential benefits. In fact, studies show that locations with flock cameras have a higher rate of vehicle thefts than areas without them. The cameras record and store exact patrol routes of police officers on duty, which I can think of several reasons why that info in the wrong hands would leave our city in a more vulnerable spot than before. There are broader implications of having this underdeveloped technology in our city that I can't fit into 3 minutes, but as a lifelong resident of Dayton, I know the police department can do their job effectively without the help of flock safety systems who have overstated the benefits of their technology, omitted the risks, and actually taking credit for the outcomes of technology we already use. So that's why myself and other residents are petitioning the city to remove all cameras and terminate its relationship to flock safety systems. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else for open forum? All right, we'll move on. Staff consultant council updates. Zach?
Yeah, so Mayor, Members of Council, I did print off that petition for you, so you do have a copy of that for those signatures and stuff. I'm sorry it's so small. I will happily send that out to you on an Excel form, but I didn't want to have you guys see the petition so you know that those signatures are legitimate.
Sure.
My only update tonight is, do you have a question? Sorry.
Could we get a copy of the actual petition? Not the,
Yes,
not the names, but what is being asked? Because we
So
just have names.
there is a link, so I will forward you that link as well. The
perfect.
link just shows what you're petitioning on that actually as you sign up, if you wanted to sign up, so that's what those job forms do. I can't actually see anybody's signatures or anything when you click on those things, but you can at least see where the petition is actually at. So I'm happy to send that out for you. No problem. The only update that I have is this Thursday, there was supposed to be a Met Council State of the Region. I received an email tonight about 5 o'clock or so that the State of the Region from Met Council has been postponed based on the current climate that we're at today. I'm not sure, I did send it out to all the council members. I'm not sure if any of you guys signed up. If you did, I just want to make sure you guys are aware that it is postponed if you were planning on going there on Thursday. So that's all I got. Thank you.
I don't have an update tonight.
Marty?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a few things tonight. The wellhead treatment plant, we started testing the pumps. That started this week. It will be going all this week and through next week. The electrical work is nearing completion. SCADA system needs to be installed. That's going to be over the next couple of weeks. Chemical feed lines are being connected to Wellhouse 4 tomorrow. Next week, it's going to be more pump and valve tests, just evaluating all that stuff. Water trails, Elsie Stevens Park launch is out for bids at the moment. We have 23 contractors who have pulled plan sets for the project. The bid opening is on February 6th. The ice rink is open and the lights are on. I noticed there were people down there tonight skating. I want to thank City of Corcoran for bringing their Zamboni over today to help us flatten smooth out the surface there. So that was fun to have that out and to watch that working. And just a general comment, we advertised for a full-time public works position. We did offer it to a candidate, but he couldn't accept the position at this time, so we're going to be re-advertising that position this week. We've changed a little bit of the wording to try and get a more focused pool of candidates. That's all I have.
Chief?
Good evening, mayors, members of council. Just an update on hiring. We started interviews yesterday. I think we have around 14 applicants, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we'll continue those interviews through next week.
Are they strong applicants? Are they meeting the requirements?
Yep, we've taken, there's been 2 that did not meet the requirements outside of that. Okay. That doesn't include, I think, the 14. Those are above that.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Chief?
I'll just mention based on one of the public comments, so we do have some state funding for affordable housing grants. So one of our work projects for 2026 is to create a program for something similar to what the resident was talking about, but it is based on income.
So these are affordable housing grants that can be used for this curb appeal stuff?
That's one of several different options.
Okay.
So.
Scott?
Nothing.
Sarah?
You may have noticed that I chose to take a silent moment of reflection instead of saying the pledge aloud tonight. I had originally hoped to make this request prior to the pledge, but our ordinances around how our meetings run did not allow that. 2 weeks ago, I stood here with my hand on my heart, and I declared that I stand for liberty and justice for all. And those words rang so hollow, as they have many times before. And I could not stand here and declare those words again with everything that has been happening in our state. As I said, I had hoped to ask for this moment of silence to either reflect on those words after our pledge. And I ask that maybe next meeting, that after we say the pledge, we have a moment of silence and reflect on those words with liberty and justice for all, and ask ourselves what we are doing individually and collectively as a community, that we are actually upholding what we say we stand for. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I have nothing.
Nothing for me.
Okay. Council business item H.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I am here in front of you for approval of Resolution 06-2026, authorizing eminent domain or the use of eminent domain for public purposes and offer of just compensation to owner. A little background on this information. I know that most of you are aware of this situation, but originally approved preliminary plat for this parcel included the roadway that is shown in yellow highlighted, which matches the area requested for the eminent domain process. The final plat was granted based on a lapse of city staff action, which was provided to council as well within 60 days by state statute. So this was brought to the owner's agent's attention on November 13th, 2025. The developer or their owner's agent stated that he did not want the final plat after being given it, and allowed the final plat to fall off, and preliminary plat lapsed due to 1 year of non-action. So city staff did send a letter on December 17th, 2025 to offer an appraised value on the property, again highlighted in yellow. City staff met with the owner's agent on January 13th, roughly 2 weeks ago, to discuss options for moving forward and could not come to an agreement on terms of purchase at that time. The meeting overall was very cordial, and we left shaking hands. The property that we're looking at for eminent domain is, again, in the total area for eminent domain is 49,412 square feet, just over 1.13 acres. Some of that is temporary, so just needed because we have construction vehicles that'll be needed in order there to construct the roadway that was originally platted. That will cover roughly 18,986 square feet and leaves 0.7 acres that we're looking for permanent right-of-way or easement. We don't technically need all of the 0.7 acres. If we wanted to give back the little corner, we probably could. It's not needed for purposes of construction and or utility easements, but didn't feel real great to give back a little tiny portion because it doesn't feel like it would be useful to the property owner. Happy to work with that process. If the property owner is saying that they want the little corner back, that's fine with us. We don't need that. We're just looking for the roadway portion, but figured it'd be easier to take the entire corner if that's the case. Eminent domain is only used if negotiated terms cannot be reached by conversations and discussion between the city and the property owner. And the property is needed for access to landlocked property owned by the city and also owned by another private party. Future considerations for roadway connections to Maple Grove, connections of water and sewer systems that are currently separated, connection of a trail corridor, and a proposed future city park on a landlocked property, amongst other items. I will stand for any questions, but at this moment, city staff is recommending approval of Resolution 06-2026. I'll answer as best as I possibly can. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I have very mixed feelings on this. Had you asked me 2 years ago if I would have been okay with eminent domain, I would have said that I could not think of a situation, and I, in fact, knew of several situations where I thought it was misused. But in this case, I feel like there was a lot of good faith effort between ourselves, the property owner's agent, and the other property owner that this road was going to benefit everybody, that the intersection was going to benefit everybody, that the light was going to benefit everybody, and all parties said yes to the road. And so things moved forward because of that yes. To the point, as you said, they came through with a plat. Like this wasn't just a verbal agreement. There are documents that they submitted with the road there. And so then to at the last minute pull it and in effect throw off all of these plans feels real, I'm just going to say it, real crappy. And so I find myself in a place I never thought I would be, saying, I think eminent domain is the right way to go. On the flip side, the laws about eminent domain have changed somewhat recently, correct? And it's the case law around it is not as robust as previous case law. The previous law, there were lots of cases we could look to see, where this fell. And it feels like there's not the depth of case, like of other cases to look at. And my concern is that depending on the judge we get, that they may interpret the current law in a way that's not favorable. And I just don't have, I would feel better if I could look at some examples where, yes, this is a slam dunk, so to speak. And I just don't feel like we have examples that it is a slam dunk and it is a financial, there is a risk. If we lose this eminent domain, there is a financial risk to that, correct?
Yes, so if the process goes through and we were to move forward and we were not able to fulfill that eminent domain process, then the city is on hook for the costs of ourselves along with the other individual. That's correct.
And that's the part that I have concerns about. And again, simply because the newer version of the law just has not been tested, so to speak, as many times as the previous version of the law. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I'm totally off base on that.
I'm not either.
But that was my understanding from what I did looking at the League of Minnesota Cities and some other things, is that this current version of the law just has not been tested, so to speak, as often as the previous version of the law. So that's why I'm on the fence. I think it is the right thing to do, but I'm worried about the financial liability that the city might be taking on.
And I don't know what the financial liability might be. It may be $5,000, it might be $50,000, and it might be $500,000. And I don't use those numbers just because they're easy math, but I technically don't know what the financial
burden could possibly
be. I don't know that answer.
And that's what makes me nervous, is that big, giant financial question mark. I don't like financial question marks. So that's where I'm standing, which is to say, not on either side. I would need to be convinced.
Anybody else want to speak?
I guess I'll echo some of what you're saying. I won't repeat it, but I continue to be really puzzled about why we're in this situation.
Yep.
The road was on the previous plan that the developer had submitted. It obviously has been on plans for some time because that's where the intersection is, and now it's okay. And I don't know, if the developer's upset with the city about something unrelated to this, if it's competition between developers, unclear to me. But we seem to be at something of a standstill, I guess, without trying to move ahead. Is my sincere hope that negotiations continue through this process, which is, as I understand it, is part of it, and that we can get to figure out what the underlying problem is and get that resolved. But I don't know how we make it move forward without doing this, so that's where I'm at today.
Maybe some form of lesson. No, I think clearly we trusted that this road was going to be agreed upon verbally. It sounds like we should have locked it in contractually, and we did not. And here we are. I'm kind of the opinion that this is not going to be a fruitful route.
Yeah. So with the resolution tonight does not mean that that authorizes us to begin the process. I'm happy to provide updates to the council if that makes you feel better about what the process would be. Authorizing this does not mean we're all the way down the route, but most certainly gives me direction as staff specifically to say which way are we going. I always prefer to come to council to get direction specifically on items like this that can be volatile depending, but I'm happy to provide updates to the council. I will tell you that I stand here not loving eminent domain either. That is not my first, second, or probably fifth choice. I'd rather negotiate terms, and that's been what we've tried to utilize as the number one option, is negotiate terms, because it makes everything go so much smoother. Again, dollars are dollars, but like I said, I'm happy to provide updates. I do know this initiates the process. It does not necessarily bind us to the whole process whatsoever, but it does initiate from the city staff's perspective of where do you want to head. So that, just want to make sure if that's clear or any clearer as mud as it can be.
Anybody else?
I got nothing good to say, so I'm going to say nothing.
Okay. Well, we would need a motion to approve.
So to clarify, Zach, if we approve this, there will still be another point in time where so if we approve this and we get more legal advice or find, whatever, perhaps another case goes to a judge in the meantime that makes us feel more comfortable one way or the other, we would still have an opportunity to say yes or no again?
Yeah, so I don't know the official action, but I believe it would be revocation of the resolution.
Okay.
If we were to move forward with this.
Okay.
So again, I'm happy to provide updates to the council. My first, second, and third goal is to get this negotiated and be done with it, and or maybe just replat it again. That would be the best option.
Yeah.
So I'll continue to try to work with the developer and the owner's agent as best as I possibly can. But again, this kind of initiates the process for us so that we know what steps we have to do. This does not say we're, 100%. We're going all the way down the route and it's, all or nothing basically.
Okay.
This just starts us down that process so that we have direction as staff of where we're at. So I would agree with you, and then I will provide updates as best as I can and bring it back to the council as soon as I can, obviously with updates, but it's every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the next negotiation would be signed in blood.
Yeah. So what this next step, it starts the eminent domain process, and it also allows me to do a final offer.
Okay.
So that we have the next steps in the eminent domain process. Again, that doesn't go from, and I think I provided this to council about the steps in the eminent domain
Yeah.
process. It's new to me, it's probably new to most of the council members. And just what the next steps are per a legal basis. And this, I have to get authorization from the council in order to send a final offer basically to the developer, which then is the next step in the steps of the process. That doesn't mean we're going right to eminent domain, but it just means that I'm able to give a final offer on behalf of the council that you feel is, just and whatever else. And the offer that I have offered is the appraisal dollars related to the property, so.
Remind me on how we got here. To me-
Where would you like me to start?
Well, here's where I am on this deal, I guess. If I was building a building, I would have secured this property at the first step.
So do you want to start back in like 2019 or?
Well, therein lies why we're here. I tell you what, I don't care if we get the final offer, but there's no way I'm going down in eminent domain. I mean, I don't believe in it. I wouldn't stand for it. I'm certainly not going to vote for it.
Sure.
If it was my land, it wouldn't end good, trust me.
Sure.
It's just frustrating because, we were.
Somebody made a mistake, that's the
Well-
bottom line.
Yes, getting absolute approval, but, it was clear that both, whatever, I already said my piece. Okay, I need a motion to approve.
I don't know how we move ahead without this, so I'm going to make the motion.
Okay, I need a second. Okay, I'll ask again, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no.
No.
No. Motion fails 2-3. All right,
I believe that's all we can do it, from my understanding of Robert's rules. We're good. So, thank you.
that's it, yeah. Item I.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight, we are looking for some guidance on the next phase of the Elsie Stevens Master Plan. We did present several options before. We did get the master plan approved by the council without any phasing or pricing attached to those. From that meeting, we took away the items, 4 items that you wanted included, which were bathrooms, splash pad, performance stage improvements, and additional parking. Those were the 4 things that we were focused on. A budget of $1.5 million was suggested for those improvements. Since then, the concept plans for phase 3 have been reimagined by MSA, and the cost estimated for the project at $2,025,000. Staff is looking for direction from the council to proceed with phase 3 of the park development. We've seen that. So proposed phase 3 is 2 areas, and the splash pad area, which has been downsized considerably, removed the playground area, added a restroom in that area, and some additional parking. There's on the other side, there's a stage with a cover, additional seating, and some dance floor additions there. We have some very broad pricing on this project at this stage. We would need to get this out to bid to get some really hard pricing, but what I need tonight is what areas do we want to pursue. In your packet, I believe there was some few examples of different structures for the metal canopy over the stage, and a couple of different versions of what we would look for from the restroom. Depends if you want the basic or the more ornate one, which ties in with what we want the overall park look and feel to be like. The splash pad is a smaller version of what we had initially on there, but it's still a good size splash pad. There's some examples of a similar splash pad that MSA have worked on to give you some idea of what it may look like. So the next steps on this will be prepared bid documents approximately, I put a month after talking with Eleanor from MSA, because there's some permitting and civil engineering, it's probably going to be more like 2 months to get that completed and the bid set ready. Then it'll be put out to bid for a month, an opening, we'd award the bid, sign the contracts and get the construction stuff going on. So there's a little bit of time that we need to consider before we get this thing rolling. I do have Eleanor here tonight to help answer questions. So that's where we're at.
So Marty, what drove the water and sewer? Is this the water part?
Second,
What drove the water and sewer?
the water and sewer for this was the bathroom.
The bathroom?
Yeah, the bathroom. We're looking at having
Well, that,
city sewer and water on the
can you
bathroom.
go back to the bathroom?
Yeah, sure.
Because that lower bathroom,
Oh,
yeah, lower right, that I
Yeah.
don't think has regular sewer. That's what that vent pipe is.
Some kind of pit toilet.
That's,
I come up.
oh, sure.
That's the Forest Service bathrooms.
That's,
Still bathroom.
So the images are just sort of an example of what you would look at for, if it's a vault toilet, if it's
Right.
not necessarily tied to that, but stylistically.
now, I guess my concern is that if we're running water and sewer just for the bathrooms, a lot of parks have that bottom style there. Now, you don't have any water, but they're vented and they have to be pumped periodically.
Yeah, and just to clarify, the water and sewer would be for the splash pad.
Oh.
Needed for the splash pad.
All right.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right.
And I kind of suspected that, given that one there. And if you had water and sewer, then you could go with the top one.
Yeah. Yeah, why wouldn't you if you had it there?
You wouldn't need the sewer for the splash pad, though.
The water can't go into the
Yeah,
river,
so
though.
just-
No, but
May-
you can put it in a pond and then you're.
Mayor and members of the council, it depends on which splash pad you go with. So there's two
Okay.
different designs for splash pads that you can do. You can do recycled water, which would need water and sewer, because then the recycled water would then go flush down, and they would put new water in. Or you can do, I'm gonna call it the St. Michael method, just because St. Michael's the nearest one that I know that did it, is that they don't use a recycled method, they use a stormwater pond. So what happens is the water comes out of the well into the splash pad directly, and then the splash pad puts the water from free use and puts it right into the stormwater pond. The stormwater pond is then used for reuse for irrigation on the lawn. so the water isn't technically reused. So the ongoing maintenance costs are much less because there's no pumps to do besides the well and the pumps that pump it obviously into the facility, but there's no sewer. That's just pumped into a stormwater pond. In my personal opinion, we most certainly could do that St. Michael method here and then just irrigate the lawn around it with the reuse of the stormwater pond because it would be constantly refilled with the irrigation or the water usage in the splash pad. It comes down less testing. There's less pumps. There's less ongoing maintenance typically on those kinds of facilities.
So we just put in a sprinkler system. How much of it did we sprinkle?
Not much.
Not much?
More around by the stage
Just the
area, the
amphitheater.
seating area.
Okay. So
That
this
side.
may be more on that side.
It would be all on the
On the
west
west
side
side.
of the river,
Yeah.
of the creek, sorry, not the river.
So,
Correct.
okay. And as far as water volume, what does it take? Would we need,
Depends on how big your splash pad is.
well, this big.
Well, this is big, 3,800 square feet is a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have those numbers offhand.
Yeah, I don't know that number.
I guess
Ott Siegel, for example, if anybody's been to that Siegel splash pad, that's 3,000 square feet.
I guess my question is though.
St.
is-
Michael's is 2,100.
Yep, and Ott Siegel's is 3,000, so this one would be bigger than both of those. Yep.
Can we run this with a local well, or do we need to pretty much hook it up to sewer or water?
That would need to be investigated.
Yeah, and I think, just on broad numbers, I mean, I did a little bit of research on what the flow rates might be on. On a 1,500 square foot pad, they're looking at 30 to 45 gallons per minute on there.
So this would be closer to 190.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's gonna be closer to it. Yeah.
And how big a pump does that take, Mr. Engineer?
Which I do offhand, I would expect you'd be fine with the well. I mean, that's not a tremendous volume. I don't know horsepower-wise what would be needed, but.
Okay. So like a 3-horse deep well or something? Nothing, nothing.
Yeah,
whatever.
nothing extravagant, right. Yeah.
And that would be significantly cheaper than 200K.
I expect so, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, it depends on which method the council wants to go with for supplying the water to the splash pad, if the splash pad is what is desired by the council to put in on phase one.
Well, to me, this cost kills it because we said 1.5 for a reason. But if we can knock some of these costs down.
Well, yeah. Definitely the cost can come down. I don't know if anybody else did any, I mean, I'm not real wild about this whole, I don't know that a whole lot of effort was put into these numbers. I mean, the septic system alone, I don't understand why you would put sewer and water there now. I do agree that once there's a main building there,
Yeah.
then you would have sewer and water.
Yeah.
For now, a $15,000 tank, and you just pump it a couple times a year.
Yeah,
You
for
can
the
get by
bathroom.
with that, or if you put a mound system in and you're talking 30 grand
But you're talking about the bathroom.
for the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the bathroom, I don't have a problem with no water. Because again, I've seen those bathrooms, and they can be kept pretty clean because they can be very easily rinsed out, and it's just you don't have running water there, but it's not, I don't think it's that big a deal. It gets you a clean bathroom. But as far as the water park goes, then it sounds like that's really the issue. Or at least what type of water park we're talking about and what we do with the water. If it goes into a catchment pond and as far as recycling it, that tells me that it's gotta be full of chlorine. What happens when you sprinkle that on the ground? Not much, I don't know.
I think there's a certain amount of time that it has to be so the chlorine dissipates out of the water before it can be discharged anywhere. And that would hopefully happen in the holding pond there.
Yeah, and I know sunlight consumes that, but I don't know what, no big deal.
No, I mean, I think even a pool, I don't know what the half-life is, but it's pretty short on the chlorine within the water.
If it's in the sun, that's very, yeah.
Would it be chlorinated to a higher level than what comes out of the tap, out of our city systems?
I would expect so.
I want it to be.
Yeah, so to clarify, a recirculating system where you recycle the water would need to be chlorinated, and that does need to go through a longer permitting process. If it's just a flow-through system that goes to a holding pond, that is a shorter process and can utilize, if it were to come off the city water service, I believe that is acceptable. If it's coming off of a well, there would be some treatment options there.
It would be much more minimal though, because it's not being reused. So part of it is that it would be used and then done. So then it would be into the stormwater pond. So the recycled or reused part of it wouldn't need as much chlorine in the water because it's not being reused and recycled. It's just being one-time use and then into the stormwater pond to be able to be irrigated into the water. So.
But at 100 gallons a minute, you're talking about a lot of water over a 7-8 hour period.
Yeah, that,
But if you got a large area to irrigate, it doesn't take long. If you're irrigating for half an hour at a time, I mean,
That was my question. Will we use up that water? Is there going to be a risk that the pond, like, will overflow? I guess, I don't know.
And I think that another part of this, since we're talking about it, we haven't got any irrigation in this area to reuse that water yet. So if we do go this method, we would have to put that in.
Yeah.
so I guess I was confused. So if we're recycling the water, then where would it would go into the pond? Okay. What was the flow through then?
The flow through is the recycled one.
So I think there's two things.
Go ahead, Eleanor. You
Sure.
got it.
So I think there's two things going on. There's where the water is coming from, how it's operating within the splash pad context. So there's where you have two options. You have the flow through or the recirculating. So that's one aspect of it. And then the second aspect of it is what happens with your water once it's done being used the first time around through the splash pad. So two options there. You can sort of dovetail the recirculating option, feeds it back, treats it, reuses it within the splash pad setting. The second option is, like Zach was alluding to, using that gray water coming off the splash pad to irrigate the area in that part of the park.
Well, the recycling, wouldn't you also want to dump that into a pond periodically?
Eventually, yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that if we have not the recirculating type, we would have a local well that would feed through the water park and it would go right into the pond.
Yes.
That seems like a lot of water.
Yeah, there's a higher operating cost with a flow-through system in terms of water costs versus a recirculating system, then your cost is in your processing.
So St. Michael does the one-time use stormwater pond. Otsego does the recycling method. Yep.
Oh, okay.
And just to give you an idea about the volume of water, if we were doing the 1,500 that I got figures for, that was just over 1 million gallons of water over the 90-day period that this is expected to be used. So we would probably be looking at more like 2 million gallons of water over that 90-day period.
How much pond do we need? Like, yeah, like,
Where does it go?
where would a pond, because that was not in the design at any point, was a pond.
Correct. The master
So-
plan level designs are general. This would be getting into the specifics of that and where that pond ends up.
But there was no plan for it, so it's not like we have a
Right.
location already earmarked.
Right.
Pond
Yeah,
goes here.
we had the sort of open green space, and that's sort of the next evolution.
And I'm just asking a question on the fly here.
Yeah.
We do have some existing ponding on there. Would we build that incorporate that into the system? Oh, sorry.
That's probably me. I probably don't speak up. To answer Marty's question, yes, we could take a look at utilizing the existing area out there and see if there is adequate volume in the existing ponded area to at least take account of some of the stormwater.
I guess I like the idea of reusing the water on site. So the pond idea, we pushed some developments to do some recycling of stormwater. This would be cleaner water than that, essentially, and reusing it on site rather than running it into a sanitary sewer makes sense to me. I wonder at what point because we know we have city water across the street, and I know we got to go under a road and all of that stuff, but at what point does it become more expensive to drill a well and treat that water, which we wouldn't have to do if we were using the municipal water that's across the road? So I would like to understand that better, but I think that and the fact that it sounds like it would save some cost to not have to do the sewer, I think that would be my preferred option, is to reuse that water for sprinkling on site.
Would it be possible to reuse the gray water from the splash pad in the restroom? For like the toilets?
For the flushing the toilet.
For the flushing the toilets?
That, I would have to look in the public.
Okay. Because I get that it would be cheaper maybe initially to not, but if we're going to long-term pull the sewer, like pull city water and sewer, it feels like let's do that now. It's going to be cheaper now than it will be in the future. And then like, I appreciate that in this moment, a well may be cheaper. But if our long-term goal is going to be to pull city water anyway, why not just do it now? It'll be cheaper now than it will be then, and we save then the cost.
And there is a water line on this side of the road, just by the, where the tunnel goes underneath the road, there's a hydrant up there. And I think there's a fairly substantial service there from what I recall that we could do. But the part of this, we talked about this, how we run that water through there. Should we run it so it incorporates where the bigger building is, or, rather than just send it to where the splash pad is and stuff like that? Do we want to do a bit of, front-end planning to know where that's going to go, so we don't have to go back and redirect stuff?
Or dig up the parking lot we just spent
Yeah.
money to put in, and then dig it back up to rerun the pipe. Like, that's stupid. That was the point of the master plan, right? Is to know where we want everything in the end, and make, even though it's a more expensive choice right now, it will save us money in the long run. That was literally the purpose of this.
That's you and St. Michael, do they have municipal water in the area? I guess I'm wondering if this is a choice they made, because that's, again, we talk about this all the time, but using drinkable water for some of this stuff just seems dumb.
Like flushing a toilet?
Yeah.
Well, but you can't do much with that. Watering lawns
I
especially.
believe St. Michael's is near, and I think Otsiko's technically is too, but neither one of them, I believe, and I don't know this for a fact, the only one I know is Otsiko's, is that they use well water, because of the fact that it doesn't make any sense to put clean, treated water through a spot that people aren't gonna.
Right. So
they
that's
don't
why I
really-
was thinking they may do it on purpose.
Yeah, I believe they're available in both spots. I can't speak to St. Michael's if they put a
Okay.
well in or not, but, or maybe they use city water. I don't know that answer, but
Is that something we can find out?
I can find,
Like,
yeah, we
I
can
feel like
ask.
there's a lot of questions as far as like the splash pad, the water, all of that goes. And, I agree with you, Sarah, like thinking ahead, right? And I don't want to make a decision because we're like, oh, this is the cheaper option, and then realize in, a couple of years that we're like, what in the heck did we do? Like if we had just done our research.
Well-
And not that you have, I don't think I can make that decision right now. I don't
The other
understand
problem
enough
with
about.
using municipal water is we're on the edge of needing another tower over there. And I would not want to
Be the one to push this to be the thing that pushes it.
Because then suddenly it's a big cost up front. Or it at least is going to add to that.
So, sorry, this is like a half-baked idea. I'm just kind of talking out loud, so I apologize. Is it possible, and we've asked a lot of questions here about, could we do this, could we do that, what is this? Is it possible to revisit that splash pad portion? Like, again, I don't think I can make a decision without having some of these answers, and I don't know if any of those are really clear for you, Marty, or if you're gonna need an email of exactly what we went through with this last 10 minutes, but,
Yeah.
I don't think that I can make a
agree.
decision on that without having, thoroughly thought through all of those things, especially with, like, where does the pond go? Again, it's not on the plan, and for me, I'm looking at it going, I have no idea. And you might know, but I don't know.
Or in like the irrigation system, if we're gonna
Yeah.
have to put in an irrigation system
What is
in
that
order
gonna
to use
cost?
that water, then how much have we actually saved versus, like,
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of pieces to this part of it in particular that we want to make sure we get right this go around. Like, we want to do it right the first time. But having said that, is this like an all-encompassing plan of we can't move forward unless we agree to all 10 things or whatever. I can't see the number, 9 things on here, or can we split it in half and look at the other side and say we're going to revisit back to the splash pad and move forward with the other side? Is my
I think what
question.
we were looking for, these were the things that you'd picked out, and
Yeah.
there was a budget attached to it, and it was going to be picked which ones you want to do within
Okay.
that budget. But now it seems that if we're going to be revisiting this, that could impact all the rest of this, because the new irrigation system, if we're going to use the water reuse, then maybe we want to think about how the storm ponding works and stuff like that, so it might, push that out of this phase even,
Yeah, I agree. I think that it maybe becomes its own kind of phase, right? Especially if it's going to be a more in-depth looking at the irrigation or the pond and all of that. So I guess my question is understanding that we kind of gave you a long wish list of these are all the things and here's the budget, kind of like make it work. Not meaning to, but it's kind of what we did. Can we still move forward just so we are moving forward with the other portion?
So what we'd take it, just through the stage area, is that what you're looking at?
I think I just want to keep trucking along. Again, like splash pad, I'm really excited about that. But I want to make sure it's done right, but I want to make sure we're still moving forward and getting something in the ground or.
It seems like the amphitheater is independent of this.
Agreed. I guess I was just wondering, because sometimes we get bids and it's like an all or a nothing kind of a thing, or you're accepting, or we keep it as in a different, I don't know what this falls under.
That would be how we would handle it typically. Is we do the whole project and bid the whole project out, and then a GC would bid on the project, and then would have a bunch of subs underneath them that would do, you do this, you do this, you do this part. We most certainly can do what you're asking, Councilmember Henderson, is we could do one portion at a time and just say, hey, we want to really focus on the splash pad and parking and restroom buildings in a separate process, and separate out the amphitheater. We'd obviously like to keep that as much as we can, working together with both of them. Obviously, we don't want to do, amphitheater and not think about anything else to make sure that
No.
they're cohesive with each other. That was the idea of the master plan. But we most certainly could do one independent project and then another, call it 3 and then 4, whatever you want to do for phases, doesn't really matter. But we most certainly could do that. That's the council's direction. That seemed like something that would be, so the process would be, we would do 3 this year if we can. If it's just the amphitheater, maybe we can do that project just this year.
Yeah.
And then we would just work through the year on splash pad and bathrooms and whatever, get all your information, get all the access information that you guys are looking for, and then get through the design and planning, and then do that part next year.
I think for
Does
me
that make sense?
yeah, I think for me that makes sense because there is such a divide between the two areas. Like if they were right next to each other, then I wouldn't want to kind of split them up. But I don't know what the rest of the council feels
I
about
agree.
that.
I think this,
They're independent.
splitting it makes sense. I'm not yet sure that it means if we don't do it tonight, then it's next year. I think that some of this stuff can get answered so we can give some direction, over the next month or so. And, is that really then too late to get a design in? I mean, it's 2 separate bid packs, but timing-wise, right, to
Yeah,
keep the
I
one
would imagine
moving.
that.
But
I think it
does
would help to
it
get some
automatically mean that this is off for this year? Just
No.
because
Well, I mean, we
wanna
would
look
try
at
to
another
get it done
option
this
there.
year, if that's what you want to do. I mean, they're 2 different types of contracts anyway. One's, the splash pad is totally different to, the stage area, and the parking lot is, we haven't got any blacktop in the other area. So there's a certain amount of difference between them, I think, that we could do it as 2 separate things.
I certainly don't think it's bad splitting them up at all. I would definitely want to get some better numbers here. I don't like these numbers at all. I mean, to me, they're just way off board. I mean, contingency, 15%, that's $250,000 just for what?
And
There's nothing there.
as we finalise these, we always have a bigger amount of contingency, and as you get the plan sets closer to where you are and you've got more confidence in the numbers, you bring that contingency down. And it usually ends up around 7% is what we've been using on parks just recently, and that seems to be a good number to cover everything. But while there's a lot of unknowns, you don't want to sell the product and then it comes in way over the price. So
The only reason I say that, and we still have never got there, and maybe we never can. Maybe I just got to accept it. When you get a number for a splash pad, I mean, I know I could call Aquatics up. I mean, I did do some checking on it. I can say I want splash pad 146. the price of that splash pad, whatever that price is, that's what you're paying. There are no contingencies, that's it. Now, you gotta get, there is contingencies on installing it. But to me, if you get some hard numbers and hold everybody to that number, then you know where you are. I also don't like the 330, those bathrooms. If any of them bathrooms are over 100 grand, you're bending over.
I was gonna spread by that too, but I guess I don't know.
Pun intended.
It just seems like, but
No,
again,
I appreciate where you're coming from, Scott. I feel like at this stage that 15% contingency is a safe number to be using. 'Cause we seem to, on a lot of these projects, cut ourselves short for the unknown conditions that come up. And maybe there's less risks because there isn't much for buildings on this one. But it's not money we're spending, it's just money we're reserving in case the inevitable change orders start to appear.
Well, I'd like to see some hard bids on some of this stuff. I mean,
Sure.
I talked to a builder today, and he's $330,000 for a bathroom. Jesus, what are you doing, putting marble in it?
Well, that'll be the next stage of this, when we start pulling a bid package together and get this out to bid. That's when we're going to get our harder numbers, once this is really refined down. These are, just including a lot of things and best guess numbers, educated guess numbers, but
Correct.
And I'm
Yeah,
all
that's
for getting the amphitheater done, I mean, getting something done there, but that 100 you got there, that won't buy the cover.
yeah, that seemed, well.
Unless you're doing canvas,
So,
and none of us want canvas.
so it sounds like, are we all in agreement that we need more numbers, at least on the splash pad?
Yes.
Options, numbers,
numbers.
thought through different ways to do it.
I do have one other question about those. And do we have the population to get so this will get some good usage, or do we not have a clue what that means? In other words, I mean, Andrews is surrounded by people. I don't know about St. Michael, I don't know about Otsego, but is that not really a question?
it's a question I don't know how to answer.
Right. I
Well-
think there's one aspect of it that came up in the master planning process,
Yeah.
was this did come up as a topic that people
Yeah.
filled in, requested.
It was the
Yep.
top second or third item on the deal.
To answer your question, Mayor, I believe we have enough desire of it because it would be the only one in town. So if
Yeah.
there was multiple in town or something, then you may not get as many people to draw to this location and/or to this use, but Otsego's bigger than us, yes. St. Michael's bigger than us, yes. Champlin's bigger than us, yes. But they're not that much bigger than us. I mean,
Yep. I understand
just
that.
twice.
Draw
It's-
people from other areas.
it will. So.
Yep.
And I think part of the plan for this was, I don't know if that's changed, but to make this into a destination park as well. So,
Sure.
you'd be bringing in people from outside of the city as well, so.
Yeah, so it sounds like as far as the splash pad goes, we just need more information. And I also agree that I think at least the amphitheater, I'm not sure what else we have in here, is kind of independent of that. The restroom, I didn't get, where exactly was that restroom gonna be?
It's
Well,
over
by
by
the
the splash
splash
pad,
pad.
this area.
Okay.
yeah.
So we would incorporate that with the splash pad area. That would be the
Yeah.
idea.
Okay.
So then it would just be amphitheater
You can't
area
really-
and specifically what the council wants to do with that specific area.
Okay.
I personally don't think that it's a rush to get it done this year. I mean, to me, the splash pad, that area could certainly wait until next year. But make plans for it now.
Does it need to?
Does it
I
need
guess
to?
that's my question.
Does it need to wait? If we can get it done this year, let's get it done this year.
Oh, ideally, I mean, if we can go on it, yeah, but like, for me, the amphitheater, June 1st is the first show. You gotta get that done if you're gonna do it, because otherwise you're not gonna get it done this year, period.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
there's a show there from June until the end of August.
I hear you, Scott, but I also agree with David, where if we can get the information that we need to make a decision on the splash pad, I would be fine and I would be in favor of moving forward with it. I don't think that we have to say that it will be next year. I don't think we can say that it'll be this year. I think we just need to continue to make progress.
Right.
And so again, David, I just want to say that I agree with you that it doesn't have to be next year. And if we can make a good decision and get going, I would love to see it go in there and sure lots of people would love to use it.
Okay, so is it really that right now what we're talking about is the amphitheater, right?
That area.
Kind of know.
We need to have,
We need
city
more.
staff would like to have good direction of what you like to do. So currently, I think the plan was to expand the seating kind of area
Yeah, it's
and then add a cover.
add a cover, and then there was a question about a dance floor there in front of the stage area to make that area a little bigger.
Yeah.
Stage cover dance floor, and then some additional seating. Basically, was what was included.
The question I would have for everybody here is everybody okay with piecing that thing out so that we can basically subcontract it ourselves and not pay some engineer 50 grand to make it, to do it? I mean, it's a cover. You get a contractor to put it up. There's a couple concrete guys in town that can do the concrete. I'm sure we can find an electrical outfit that'll do the electric,
Could I ask a question?
you know?
When you say subcontract the pieces out, who project manages that then? Is that Marty? He has to track down 6 different contractors and make sure everybody's on the right timeline? As
We know
opposed,
Marty's sitting on all sorts of free time.
and this is my
That's
question.
sarcastic. We know you're not sitting on all sorts of free time.
And I guess my question there
This
is,
one just doesn't seem like rocket science.
no, it's
It's
not a
not.
ton of spaces, but I am cautious, toe in the water of being like, oh, we've done this in the past, and it's this project that has 15 different moving parts, and then we throw that all on Marty's plate, and then he's running around with all of the other things he has to do. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's not a big of a deal for this project, but
This is
you have
no
a project
bigger-
manager for a reason.
This is no bigger than putting a pole barn up. It's just not.
I think there's still some planning that needs to be done on here. There'll be some civil engineering stuff and that. So, and we'd have to get good sets of plans to do that, and we would still have to put it out to bid, I would say, even if it's just for the contractor, for the concrete, for the separate things.
Yeah.
So we make sure we get the best price. And so there will be, getting quotes and that. It might not
It would
be-
most likely be a quote process, not
Yeah.
necessarily a bid process. Bid process would mean you have to come back here, ask for the council to put out for bid, put it out for set amount of time. The quote process is anything under 175,000, and as long as we can keep it on that, which I think we can, we need to get at least 2 quotes. We typically get 3, and that we would continue to try to ask, obviously support local, but also look for the dollars if we can, if that's the direction of the council.
Can I ask another question, a very directed question, Marty? And this is not a negative at all to you or your performance. Do you have the capacity to run that project? And it's okay to tell me no. I'm trying to best support you and not put more on your plate to be like, hey, we don't normally do it this way. Why don't we just do this? And I guess there's a price to pay for not running our people ragged. There is a price to pay for you have a project manager for a reason. And I'm just wondering if we save a couple nickels, but
Burn out a great
correct,
employees.
or we leave it up to, and not that you're not great, Marty, because it's not what I'm saying, but mistakes happen
When people are overworked.
when people are, thank you. I'm glad you're on the same page. in my thought
As someone who has
process.
overworked quite a lot and looking back and being like, yeah, I messed that up because I was utterly exhausted and I was being asked to do 5,000 things and I only had the capacity to do 1,000 things.
Right.
So,
And again, it's not a stab at anybody.
No, it's just how life
It just
works.
is. And so I guess I'm asking, and maybe
there's
you
a
don't want to
reason
answer
people
that
hire
online.
general contractors.
There's 100% a reason why you have a project manager or a general contractor, or you, I don't want to say solve it with paying someone to do it, but there are things that aren't worth the headache, like putting up drywall, not worth the headache. Just saying, like, I don't know, maybe that's a decision for us, maybe don't answer that, Marty. Maybe that's a decision for us to decide, like, is that juice worth the squeeze?
Sorry.
I think that's a fair question. I guess my question is, I feel strongly that we still need construction drawings. I mean, that whole effort, regardless of who's doing the work. Would they be, the bid pack be structured differently if we were going to, in some capacity, act as our own general contractor, bidding it out? I mean, I know that the documents are split up by division, trade division and so on, but would you do them differently if it was one path versus the other?
My gut feeling is you probably wouldn't. I think you probably have them the same. You just end up splitting them up, and as a general contract, that's what they would do. So we would just get the bids for the individual skills. You know, the concrete guy, the construction guy for the amphitheater, that stuff. I think that's basically how it would work. Just gut feeling it.
And then we would come back to the council, just like we do anything else, and say, approve the quote for this.
Yeah.
Which like we do with everything else, that would be,
So, yeah.
you know,
So
approve the
yeah,
quote
so-
for cleaning or whatever
Yeah,
else.
exactly the same if I was buying a pickup. It's 3 bids for this pickup. You know, this is the cheapest one. You know, and get your approval to go ahead with it. It'd be just breaking it down to that level.
The biggest part of it is not getting the quotes, it's managing the project.
Yeah.
So getting the quotes for Marty's not gonna be a problem. I can guarantee Marty can do that process. He's more than capable of doing it, and I have no problem with that. It's the managing the project when it's going on, when you have a concrete guy doing this, and you got somebody putting up the amphitheater doing that, and you also have to.
coordinating them?
And then coordinating that, but also he's handling things over on the other side of town, and then handling his parks guys doing this and whatever, and.
Then a wellhead goes out and you gotta go deal with the
Yep,
wellhead.
so
God,
it's just,
don't
there's
say
just
that.
so many.
I mean, a wellhead's not gonna go
There's
out.
other
Don't say that.
projects, like, project managers there on site and managing all the people at
Yeah.
one time. Marty wouldn't be able to be on site every day to do that. So
It
that's
is a-
the only process that I'm concerned about for Marty.
It's a lot of the day-to-day and lining people up, and then when somebody doesn't turn up, or, you know, they've got, you know, staff out sick, how that impacts the rest of the project and stuff, and keeping it moving forward. That's where you find the problems. And there's a few other things that need, you know, we have to arrange concrete testing and stuff, all those things as well that need to be done. And it's not to say it can't be done, but it's just a lot of moving parts.
Just to clarify, I fully believe that you could do it all. Just going to throw that out there. It's,
My point is, there is a general contractor, and we are paying one. It's just whether or not we are paying a separate individual, or whether we're paying by having Marty take some work that he would otherwise be doing, and either not doing it. Like, that's, someone is still doing that work, and the city is still paying that cost.
Right.
And to pretend that we're not is delusional, quite frankly. It's not like one of us is gonna do that, right? We are paying someone
I'll
to
do
do
it
it.
for $10.
You'll do, okay, well, Scott will do it for $10.
Is that a conflict of
He'll be our
interest?
general contractor. I don't know if there are some laws there about whether or not you can be
Right.
our general contractor.
That's not gonna work.
But my point is, we are still paying a general contractor. Like, that cost, it just becomes hidden instead of explicit.
Right.
And so I just think that's unfair to act like we are saving this money when we aren't actually
I don't
saving
know that
it.
it's necessarily looking to save money, because you're right, it's gonna, somebody has to do the work.
Yeah,
But can you get a general contractor to do this task?
that I don't know.
To do what task?
The
Yes.
amphitheater?
The amphitheater?
And the stuff out front, are they gonna waste their time on it, or are they gonna, if we can get a general
I'll
contractor.
bet you in 5 minutes with one phone call, I can get a guy that'll handle the whole project.
Okay,
Okay, so,
I agree that we're spending the money, whether it's here or there.
Yeah, and I just worry
Professionally.
about the coordination
Yeah.
piece of it, because that's
Yeah.
the boots on the ground part,
Sure.
right? So the parking lot guy doesn't come before the plumbing's done, and,
There's no-
you know, on and on.
This is very
Okay.
I'm
simple.
just making
So how do we,
examples
all
here.
right, so how do we coordinate?
Well, number one, you
the
gotta figure out
contract?
number one, you're gonna have to get some, what kind of cover? What cover do you want? I mean, what cover do we want? Does anybody want?
I don't want an
Oh,
amphitheater, I'm
we
just
can
gonna
go
say
there.
that. Just, I've been I don't think this is a good location for this. I recognize that there's already one there, but like, Maple Grove has an amazing performance space, and I feel like this location, it could be better utilized and more special there, but I think I'm the only one who feels that way, so I've mostly kept my mouth shut on that.
That's the best spot on this whole park for this thing.
Sure, I just don't think we need it at this park. My point is, this park could be better used in other ways, because if I'm going to go to a concert, usually I want to go out to eat beforehand. There's no restaurants around here. Usually I don't, like, when I think about no, it's all residential. When you think about the theater space at Maple Grove, or the stage space at Maple Grove, it is surrounded by parking, first off. It is surrounded by restaurants and bars. Like, it is a place you go out for a date, and you go to dinner, and then you go to the show, and then you go to the bar afterwards.
But what you're doing is,
There was a
you're
bar.
talking about a whole different park then. And here we are.
But I'm just saying, I don't think the amphitheater is important or a priority on this park. I think the splash pad is the priority. That's what the residents want. That's what's unique. That's not what we have anywhere else. To me,
But we
I
can
would put
do-
the energy there.
We could do both at the same time,
Okay.
right?
But if budget's a question, I would just cut the amphitheater and focus on the splash pad. That's where my point is if
I
we're
don't-
really concerned about budget, cut the amphitheater, focus on the splash pad.
I don't think the budget's a problem.
Yeah, I think-
Oh,
But, I
okay.
mean, that number,
I don't-
to me, that number's 15% too high.
So then just move forward this, and we just want some clarity about what those water options are. Like, what are our choices for where the water comes
Yep,
from?
we got the splash pad stuff. We need direction on the amphitheater at this
Right.
point.
So I did have some questions on the 100 grand. Was that including the concrete and?
No way, not a chance.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems kind of low, but.
Right, that's making an assumption for a very basic cover for
Plastic
the
cover.
stage. If there's something that council has already identified, we can certainly update those numbers.
I think it
Me,
was
you're
the
gonna
one on the
spend-
bottom, I think, Councilmember Slaughter, I think it was the one on the bottom left of this screen.
That's not the one,
It's a
I wouldn't,
similar
I don't like that one.
Right, we had placeholdered a number like this, not knowing if council had
You guys-
identified something.
Yeah, you guys all know what the wave looks like. We've all seen it. The only reason I don't like this one is you got pillars right in front of the production area. I mean, that's just.
Well, yeah, the pillars could be moved, but generally, the
It's
idea was,
that design.
bottom
Similar
left
to
was
that.
something that we could feel like we could get, that was metal. I think the one that you had suggested to us had some wood underneath it and stuff.
Yes.
And so that adds costs. This is a fully fabricated metal piece. So it would be metal. Again, doesn't mean that that's the right thing, but metal would be loud
The metal's loud.
when you got an amphitheater versus something that you had suggested earlier, Councilor Solonic, with the wave situation, which was more like a shingled with a wood underneath, I
It's-
think.
It's treated wood. Yeah.
Yep.
That is,
That particular unit was 120 just for the unit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
The prefabricated metal one would be significantly cheaper because it would be metal and, one piece and done. But that's what the number's based off of, is the bottom left look.
the number's based on that.
that's
bottom.
100 grand right there?
Top left,
Top left?
yeah, top left.
Not the
Oh,
bottom.
top left.
Yeah,
That
that-
that thing will
it's
blow away
hideous.
in the wind.
Right,
it's-
top
it's
left
hideous.
is the, not knowing if council had identified a preferred structure, we placeholdered in a number.
And because we're trying to work within a budget number that you're giving us, that was one of the options that would make the thing come in closer to your budget.
Correct.
I think the amphitheater is going to be about 250 to 300. All done.
Okay.
So just for clarity, you're looking for from us the style of the amphitheater that, I like very clear-cut boundaries, Marty.
Okay.
Can you tell me exactly what the direction is you're looking for from us? I know you want direction on that area.
I would like to know what kind of structure you want over the stage.
Okay.
I would like to know what you want for, if you want additional seating. I want to know if you want the dance floor in there as well. If you want all three of those things, and then we'll work on that as a budget item.
Yeah, the last one I want to know is, do you want Marty running it as GC? Or do you want us to bid it out as a full package and have a GC do it? So that's two different ways of doing
Oh,
it.
can we start at, sorry.
That would be the reason. Number 4 is that is because either Marty's got to get all the quotes and then handle all the stuff and manage everybody, or we send it out as a bid, 'cause it's two different processes. Then we have to do a bid process, then we have to get a GC involved, and they just get all the subs underneath it. So 4 questions.
Can we start at the top?
Sure.
Looking at you, because you've done all this research, what kind of amphitheater cover, band cover, whatever you want to call it, do you want? What is the best one, the best option?
Preferably, I would go with that wooden wave that we had. But, like I say, that band shell is going to cost $250 for all the concrete, the electric, everything.
I just want to know what the cover.
concrete, there's 1,000 cubic square feet of concrete that needs to go in there.
Yep.
By my calculations. Now, I'm not a concrete guy, but I did the math and had a concrete calculator do it, and Marty and I looked at it, and I think the thing needs a dance, some area out front for
It does.
For dancing.
me.
I agree with you, 100%.
So
The whole concrete
Is that
thing
the
to me
second
is not good, that's there now. Now, more seating, I don't know that you necessarily need that, because people are gonna bring a lunch here.
yeah.
I mean, preferably, those limestone rocks could have been grass. But they're there now, so we gotta deal with them.
Let's just hope people are dancing, and they don't need to sit.
Well, they'll bring it. People are gonna bring, there were 600
Just
people there
kidding,
last fall, and
Scott.
it worked.
Okay, perfect. So what we're hearing is dance floor, no additional seating, right?
So far, that's what I've heard.
Sorry, I'm just like trying to like, I like the order here. The
Added
wood
concrete-
wave.
Added concrete, wood wave, and,
Does anybody else have an opinion on that? I don't know anything about what the best amphitheater is. I don't think I can make an educated.
So the picture that you did have up on there, Scott, you were concerned about the poles, but
well, yeah, you're not using that
that's a side shot. The front of it is open.
Is on this side.
Yep.
So what is the
Okay.
difference between, I guess, for the band itself or being able to hear the band between the metal and the wood? The metal's going to be louder. Is it really going to be like what is the preferred, like what other, I don't,
I guess I've seen it both ways.
and it doesn't really make a difference?
The poles aren't gonna do diddly.
No.
The roof structure might.
I think, I mean, the tin would obviously, the steel would obviously reflect harder than the wood. The wood would absorb some of the sound, so it would project it out of there a little bit.
Scott, the one you had showed us, so this is tin, steel?
Yes.
This one
And
here.
It's a metal one.
The top left?
Bottom left.
bottom right.
That says
Bottom
metal.
left?
I think it's
It
got
says
a wooden
metal.
liner
Looks like
on it.
Yeah,
wood.
it's got a wooden liner on it. It's a Polygon is a manufacturer that we reference their projects because they have
Oh,
easily
okay.
accessible online information regarding construction.
And how much was that one? Do you know?
I do not know off the top of my
Okay.
head, so I don't want to give you the wrong number.
I mean, that's not terrible, I don't mind it,
Right.
but
I don't mind it either. That's why I was asking, like, is there a difference
I mean,
between?
I think
we
where
can
we're at here.
we can get a quote on that particular one and a quote on the wave and whatever.
I think where we're at the moment, if we can find a style that we want to go with, then we can get several quotes from different things and see which one's the best quote and what the real number is.
Okay, well, I'm fine with the wave, whatever the material is.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Awesome. Okay, so that's the three. What was the fourth? Was the general
General
contractor?
Do you want Marty to be GC and then we quote everything out?
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack
Or
that. I
we
just-
bid it out as one big project and. then we
You're
get it
talking
just-
about just this
I'm talking
amphitheater.
about just the amphitheater portion, because it's gonna be roughly, you said 250 to 300, which means it's over the 175 number, which means now we have to bid it
No,
out.
But you separate that out and you take it into pieces.
So that's
Divide
Marty
the
doing
story.
GC work.
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, that
that's my
makes
question.
sense.
Does that feel like we're trying to
Wait a minute.
dodge the?
I would check with an attorney before you did that.
Yeah.
I don't know if
That
you
sounds
can
like
do
you're
that.
dodging it.
If you can break the project up to keep it under 175. If it is intentional, that's probably gonna be flagged. I
Yeah.
can't say for sure. You might be able to general contract that, but I would recommend checking with.
What I would say is if you're going to do that, we would GC it out, which we are able to do, and then we would do the project and we would general contract it out. We could not do what, I think what Jason's referencing is we couldn't purposefully keep the projects underneath 175 just so we can get quotes to have a GC run the project. We couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's not legal.
To me, this is such a simple project. You just take the three pieces or two pieces, because you're talking about a cover and concrete. That's basically what, I guess, some electric.
You've
too.
removed the seating, so that is one part. So then it would just be dance floor and amphitheater. So you're talking concrete and
Electric.
cover.
Electric.
And
You're gonna have electric, too.
Electricity.
Because you gotta have light, you gotta have lights in the roof of that thing.
You'd have to have ADA access to the
Yeah.
dance floor too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask.
So there's more that goes into it when you.
Which we already have already, I think.
Use a general
Yeah.
contractor,
The
just
ramp.
financially, you would have to do like the IC 134s, right?
We wouldn't have to do that if we quoted everything out. We would.
Waivers,
Okay.
Responsible Contractor Act, you'd have to meet all
Yeah,
the
there's
bidding obligations.
A lot more that goes into it than just
And-
the work itself.
And it goes up.
I don't know. My feeling is that we bid this out as the package. If it's this amphitheater area that we're slicing out, that it gets bid. We're talking about something under $500,000 for this whole thing. I mean, that's a house. I mean, you know, how many residential, it's not residential builders, but guys who do this kind of park work, they do that kind of coordination all the time. I don't know that there's a big premium on it to have a guy, I mean, hire a company and then but they don't self-perform, they bid out themselves and bring it back. I get nervous about us doing all of that coordination. That coordination, I guess it's not a huge project, no matter how you look at it, but I just think we're better off on this size project, just doing a single bid and let them bring in their.
The only
bring in the
downfall you
subs.
got there is that if, just say you get 4 contractors, you're gonna have 4 different covers to look
Well,
at.
I think we want to spec that. I don't think
Yeah.
we want to leave that to the contractor to decide. I think
Yeah.
working with the architects that we say, we want this one, and so they bid it.
Oh, so
with
you're gonna have
that.
4 guys call the same manufacturer of the cover.
Sure.
Sure.
And, you know, hopefully they all get the same price. And sure, they're gonna step on it just like everything else. They're gonna, they're gonna have something in their bid for coordination and, and we pay that. But it's, like Sarah and Stephanie were saying, it's, do we wanna see the cost or do we wanna hide it in work that Marty didn't get done while he was doing this? And I think for this size project, we're better off keeping it as a package. But that's just me.
Yeah.
My gut tells me this is gonna get a premium, but
I know if I was going to invest $250,000, you're gonna pay me $50,000 for doing that.
yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, if we get all these bids
So-
and they're way too high and they're out of budget, then we just
Reject them and.
reject them and.
And you go back?
Yeah. And then we're on to
And
next
then we
year.
don't get it
but,
built.
yeah.
Well, then we
Let's
just
kick
kick it
down the
in
road
the
for another
ass and
6
get
months, we'll
going.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Did we answer all of the questions?
I heard bid, that's what I've got out of consensus.
Bid.
Okay,
Yes,
that
yeah.
sounds good.
Wooden wave,
Yep. Concrete dance.
dance floor, no additional seating.
Yep.
And then we want to get some more information about the splash pad.
Specifically the water, how it comes in, what our options are, and how it goes out, what our options are.
Irrigation.
How much more is
costs
the
and all the other-
recirculating?
Yeah, all of those
Yeah.
extra things with each project.
Okay.
Do we need to, like, is this like a motion to pass, or is this direction,
Nope,
like?
just direction.
Direction.
Oh, perfect.
Direction, he knows. what-
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item J.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, you're asked to review and consider Resolution 07-2026, site plan review at 18270 Territorial Road. It's the ADESA and newly Carvana location here within Dayton. So overall, the site's 35.5 acres roughly. There are 2 smaller parcels that are associated with this use as well that were parceled off in recent years, within the last 5 years, related to connection to sewer and water. Originally, the site was approved in 1996 for a conditional use permit for an auto auction site. Since then, auto auctions have been changed to an interim use. The conditional use permit still runs with the land. There is no time limit for it, as long as they continue operations throughout. The applicants have also just submitted, this is kind of a two-parter because originally they had submitted a plan for multiple building constructions, or one was a building addition on an existing building for a car wash addition. Would have been a privately used car wash, not open to the public. There were some setback issues during the review process, and since then they have submitted a revised plan that just incorporated the car wash addition into the new building overall. So the building is proposed to be used for inspection and reconditioning, minor repair, minor auto repair, and some that is described in the code as major repairs, such as a paint booth that they have installed there. There's no transmission work or anything like that proposed at this site. And the repair services are currently operating on site as is. They're just looking for a new space. So here's just a layout of the current site here. In your packet, there was an overlay showing the approximate location of where the building was going to go on the property. In review of setbacks for the I-1 district, everything is being met. Here's an overall plan for the building inside. You can see here where the addition of the car wash was proposed. So this is new from their original submittal that they've submitted within the last month. So the 68,000 square foot building is essentially going to also include some car storage that is going to replace that outdoor vehicle storage that is currently on site, just for reference as well. Design elements, in the I-1 district, there are specific requirements that the applicants will have to meet, and that will be reviewed prior to issuance of a building permit. I think I've reiterated a couple of times within the report and also in this presentation here that they have to satisfy all of the requirements of the zoning ordinance for development of the property, or at least construction of the building, before we are able to issue a permit. So this stuff, whether it's fluid or still being worked out in the end, it will be finalized prior to us issuing a building permit. So an example here is their metal, architectural metal that they have described. This is a good example of what I describe as architectural metal is insulated Santa Fe wall panels. Does not look like your standard pole building with exposed fasteners and such. And also recently, I don't believe that this was in your packet, but just wanted to show you that this was the updated design that they are working on to further meet those requirements that were on that last slide. So efforts are continually being made to meet those requirements as we move along through the process. So at the Planning Commission meeting, we discussed this project. One of the questions that brought up was wondering why the conditional use permit was not being requested to be amended. It was staff's determination, along with review with the city attorney, that because this is strictly for reconditioning minor, major auto repair that are permitted outright within the I-1 district and is not associated with the specific auto auction on the property. And actually, that's why our determination was that a conditional use permit amendment was unnecessary. The auto auction originally in 1996, when it was approved in a much larger capacity where there was on-site auctions occurring on a weekly basis. That does not happen anymore. So all of their auctioning is online, and as well as the Carvana process would be storing the vehicle there once it gets purchased after the reconditioning and such. Then obviously the vehicle will leave the premises to go and get dropped off at the new owner's residence or whatever location they describe. So all in all, the reason for that was that they had recommended some conditions, and I had just reminded them that because this is a site plan review, the city is not allowed to require conditions above and beyond what the code currently allows. So the one thing that was encouraged by the Planning Commission as a group, as well as the EDA, was some additional landscape screening along the railroad corridor and Highway 81. In your packet, I've showed some areas on County Road 81 that kind of describe what the vegetation looks like. Now, obviously, that changes as the railroad comes in and cuts that down from time to time. The other issue that staff had considered but didn't discuss this with the applicant, because there is a large gas line easement that is on that north property line that is not owned by the city or the property owner. It's a New Star gas line easement that goes through a large portion of this area within the city. So they do not have ownership over that. It would have to take some coordination for them to be able to install some landscaping on that area. So while obviously staff does still encourage and echoes the Planning Commission and EDA's requests, it is ultimately up to the applicant at that point. But all in all, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the site plan 4-1. I had that note in there about the building permit requirements, and staff does recommend approval of this, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I had a couple, and maybe you already addressed this, because it seems a little bit off to me that the CUP was for an auto auction, and this really is just online car sales now. So there's not really an auction component to it. They set their prices, you agree to pay, they deliver the car. And so in terms of your discussion with the city attorney and so on, that still falls within the description of the the use that was approved?
Yes, only because the identified areas for parking spaces was tied to that approval of the conditional use permit at that time. So they're still utilizing the space for that and still utilizing that storage for the same capacity of the auto auction. There just isn't any traffic that comes to the site anymore, is essentially what is the only change. Creating a less intense of a use for that auto auction that does not exceed anymore what the conditional use permit was allowed in the first place. So it is still there, though not in the same level, not at the same level as previously approved.
Okay, yeah, it just seemed like a little bit of a disconnect there for me, but I don't have a problem with this use, and like you said, it's less intense rather than, 400 cars coming and going all in this, in the same day or the same week. This is more of a one-off thing. The other thing that I wanted to address or ask for is that in the resolution, it talks about prior to the installation of the fuel storage equipment, the applicant shall submit a permit to be reviewed and approved by the fire department and building department. That certainly makes sense, but because the tanks, I assume this is a 6,000 gallon above ground tank?
Yes, it is a 6,000.
So that involves the state and the MPCA for registration and permitting as well. And there's quite a number of paint booth or paint bays within the building itself. And so I would assume that they have some kind of hazardous waste license at this point for the work they're already doing, but I would ask that license be reviewed either by the fire chief or the fire department to make sure that they do in fact have the appropriate license. I don't know how much waste they're generating, but this could tip them into a different level of hazardous waste license than they currently have, and this has come up a few times for us. I'm not sure that we're assuring that they actually have those things as part of the process, and I would like to have that built into the resolution.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I did have a conversation with Metro West about the paint booth as well, and from the storage tanks. From my understanding, the drawings and the designs are essentially reviewed by MPCA as well to make sure that they are compliant with the rules and regulations that they are, I guess, charged with enforcing. And so that will certainly be a part of that, and I'm thinking it'd be more of a building inspector question related to some of those requirements with the paint booth, related to not only waste, but also proper exhaust and such.
Yeah, I just would like to have the city have the assurance that those things have been those steps have been taken. They've dealt with the MPCA around registering the tank. They've dealt with Hennepin County as far as a hazardous waste license, because we don't regulate any of that or monitor it on kind of any ongoing basis. That's their job, but I just want to make sure that they have them.
Certainly. Just for reference, I do not believe, and I clarified with the applicant that there isn't currently any painting going on the site at current. So.
All right, any other questions?
Not a question, I just wanted to thank you for the way the packet was laid out for the actions to be considered that you gave us all three. In the past, that's been an issue where residents see that the only action is to approve and they feel like it's a foregone conclusion. So I just wanted to thank you for making that adjustment. I really appreciate that. So, but for the actual thing, I don't have any strong feelings. Is there a way we can work with the easement owner for that 50 feet to get some better vegetation there, or is that not anything we've been interested in?
I think the city could certainly, I don't know if the city would be the one to go out and request that from the easement holder, but we would encourage the property owner to reach out, and it could certainly be a similar circumstance as to what the city does with their easements, that you can put a fence in your easement area, you can put landscaping in your easement area, but if at any time the city has to come in and do the work within that area for whatever reason, that fence is going to come down. At that point, the landscaping would come down in that case too. So we'll definitely communicate that.
Okay.
All right, any motion and a second?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. All right, passes 5-0. On to item K.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This past spring, seems like a long time ago, the city reviewed a concept plan for a project in the A3 district where the number of lots were based on in 10-acre increments. So if you had 10 acres, you get a house. If you have less than 10 acres, you don't get a house. So in this project, we had, the project area was 117 and a half acres. There was a question of could that be rounded up to 120 for the purposes of determining density. The council provided direction to staff to look into it. So kind of at the question is at what point do you round numbers to the next whole number? And kind of the answer is it depends on what we're talking about. So in surveying, it's to the nearest was it 10th of a number, you round it up. So you have 0.0 or 0.00 is the smallest number. So kind of getting to the point here is at what point do you want to round it up? Our staff's opinion is the number is what it is. There's too many complications if we try to fix it for one thing, it may affect something elsewhere.
Any questions for staff?
I have one, and I understand what you were saying with the, looking at the larger number, it's the 117 acres, we're talking about 2.5 acres, of difference. And in the residential side, it's a much bigger percentage of the actual property if you're rounding from 1.5 to 2. My question is why it couldn't be a percentage to have a 10% or 5%, whatever number makes sense to people, but then it's proportional to the actual size of the ask, right? So you're not going from 1.5 to 2, you're going from 1.5 to 1.6 and a half or something.
So like if you're within 95% of where you're supposed to be, that's close enough.
Right, because we've got these odd numbers all over the city where, the land got cut because somebody said put the fence there. And so this side is, short a half an acre and the other side is over by half an acre. It just seems to me like that's the kind of leeway that people are asking for wouldn't it be better served by doing it as a percentage of the overall property versus math kind of stuff where you round up when it gets to, above 5 and so on.
Okay.
Sarah can say that better.
I do think I appreciated that you pointed out that rounding up to the nearest whole number when you're talking about acres is substantially different than rounding up to the nearest whole number when you're talking about square feet, right? Like rounding up a half a square foot is not the same as rounding up half a square acre. Like those are wildly different amounts. And so I'm all for rounding square feet numbers to the nearest whole number, but I don't half an acre is a lot of space. And so I do not think, so I would be more of I am fine with rounding square feet to the nearest whole square foot. I am not okay with rounding acres more than the 10th of an acre is the minimum in my mind. So if it's a half acre, it's a half acre. Particularly because our lots are less than most residential lots are not even a full acre. So they're automatically so. I appreciate that. Just one little thing for anyone, just because my students mess this up. Rounding is not a chain process. 1.49 does not round to 2. 1.49 rounds to 1. Because 1.49 is closer to 1 than it is to 2. But people feel like you can chain round, and that's not how rounding works. So just wanted to clarify that, just for any student, anyone ever looking at this. I don't want anyone to say that the city of Dayton thinks that rounding works that way, because it does not work that way. But no, I would be down with going, anything measured in square feet can be rounded to the nearest whole foot. Anything measured in acres is to the nearest 10th of an acre. I think that I'd be okay with that. Or I'm also okay with just the numbers are what the numbers are.
I'd say the numbers are.
I'm fine with that.
I
Not
agree
even
with
sure
that.
why we're talking about this.
I do agree
Because
though
of one
that,
particular person who wanted to buy it.
I think,
Oh, yeah,
I
know
think we
that,
can
but
deal with something
they are what
that's
they are.
close. With, I think, a better interpretation of the variance rules, especially given, I think, haven't they recently gone through some changes at the state? Variance requirements, I thought there was something,
I know that Commissioner Sargent had referenced something like that when
Yeah.
this was going through concept. I'll have to look into that because I haven't seen any official changes or anything.
my hangup is, I mean, let's make the 120 acres really ridiculous and say you're 2
Yeah.
feet short. To me, that has variance written all over it. Because I know you're not supposed to look at dollars, but at some point it does become a burdensome level to hit. So it seems like we can deal with this on the variance side.
On the flip side, if you're talking about acres, 2 feet would, if you're going 2/10 of an acre at least, be more than covered.
Sure. But, I mean, if you're at, to me, even if you're at 119.4, or 0.9 then, 0.8, you want to round it to 0.1. It's still, to me, that is so close. To not look at a variance there, to me, is a little punitive, but
But we can look at a variance, correct?
I think we can look at it. I think it might be nice if we had a much better understanding what those rules really meant. I just think it opens up a can of worms if you start rounding things, because units matter.
Can I quote you in class?
You know, even if you switch to meters versus acres, you know, whatever unit you use is going to change what that real number is.
So Mayor, members of council, I could try to keep us moving here.
Yeah.
I think we're at the same spot where we're okay. From my understanding is that we would, then if they're looking to not make any changes, there would be no approvals of this,
It would be a recommendation for denial.
or just no approval of it.
No approval.
Yeah, that's correct.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we don't approve it.
We can't do that.
Okay, so do we have a?
Recommendation for denial then?
Yeah.
No? That's what you just said.
Robert's Rules of
Just
Order
don't do
is
nothing.
silence.
No,
You
yep,
guys are
silence.
killing me.
Oh,
Yep, that's correct.
It hurts,
So,
I know.
I'll ask one more time. Do we have a motion to approve? All right, that was 3.
Okay, thank you.
Item L.
All right, just try to keep us moving.
Yep.
Zach, do you just want to hit the slide?
Love to.
Just, you guys are familiar with this, that last month, the City Council and the Planning Commission reviewed concept plans for assisted living facilities. There was general support for assisted living in the GMU4 Balsam Lane District. And really the question came down to whether the city would be interested in allowing this outright as a permitted use versus a conditional use. After review of the Planning Commission, staff originally recommended approval of this as a permitted use within that district, just to maintain consistency with the multifamily that is currently allowed there outright. And through discussion with the Planning Commission, they also recommended that it be a permitted use, but have recommended that the conditional use permit requirement related to building height be changed from anything over 2 stories to anything over 1 story, as there was concern of one of the vacant parcels was adjacent to a single-family residential facility or neighborhood, so that was kind of what they were interested in doing. So that is the ordinance that is in front of you tonight.
to limit it to 1 story.
No,
Anything
without a
anything
CUP.
beyond would require a conditional use permit. The way that it's currently written is anything over 2 stories.
Yeah.
Is that for anything or just the nursing homes?
That is for anything.
But like a regular 2-story house doesn't need a CUP.
Correct. Single-family homes are not allowed within the Balsam Lane
Okay.
district. So this,
Okay.
I guess I didn't say that quite, but this is only specific to the GMU4 mixed-use district.
And that's the only place we have for GMU4,
Correct. Yep, that is the only area.
and the only area we will ever have.
That is correct.
So this is really those 2 properties.
Yes, and any reuse or redevelopment
Okay,
of.
Okay, yeah.
And it's not saying they can't, it's just it would have to come through as a CUP if they wanted to go higher than 1 story.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's That's fine.
All right,
Yeah,
any more
that's-
questions?
Yeah, I have one, sorry. Well, my concern is in the definition, you were saying that this would allow assisted living facilities, but the two concept plans that we saw both had memory care as a component of it, which would not fit this definition.
Correct. However, the existing language for the nursing home definition does include that memory care as a capacity of the nursing home. And that is also as part of the amendment to include not only assisted living, but nursing home as well.
I'm not reading it that way. Am I missing it somehow?
I could pull it up certainly if there was interest in the city council for including memory care in that allowable uses. You could certainly make that amendment to the ordinance amendment just for clarity to kind of cover all of those.
I'd be okay with that.
Fine.
I mean, do we have any pulled up here?
Councilor Fashion, what's the, like, are you looking to not have them allowed? Are you looking to have them allowed? I guess, what is your direction?
Well, we're changing the ordinance, I think, in
Yep.
part based on the fact that we had two concept plans
That's
come in
correct.
front of us, and neither of these would fit under the ordinance as I read it without allowing the memory care component, because that is a higher
Correct.
level of care.
And I would agree.
And that's not, again, if I read it wrong, I apologize, but it looks to me like it only allows assisted living, not the higher levels of
Yeah,
care.
so what Senior Planner Stensgaard is saying, that if you guys want to add that as a specific item to the ordinance and adjust it, say, including memory care as well.
Just to cover it.
Just to cover it, you most certainly could do that and amend the ordinance as it sits in front of you tonight.
So I would make that motion to amend it to include a memory care component as allowed.
Are there any, I guess you'd have to call it liabilities to adding that to memory care versus just,
Well, it certainly adds a layer of
It adds a layer of
complexity.
complexity
Because
to
these
the-
are, then for sure, patients that are not capable of self-rescue, and I don't know if that, the building code comes into play differently if they have to, I only know hospitals, so I can tell you what would happen there, but I can't
I guess I'm asking,
speak to
is there
this.
some side effect we're neglecting? I don't think so, but.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, is the question why nursing home definition wasn't included in the ordinance amendment? Is that, because we already have a definition for nursing home, and when I reviewed that, my determination was that nursing home, that definition covered that of a memory care function. If you allow me to read that, I can certainly do that at this point. But it wasn't in the ordinance amendment because it's already an adopted definition. But it states, a residential complex containing multifamily dwellings designed for and principally occupied by senior citizens and licensed by the State Department of Human Services, public or private, which for gain or otherwise regularly provides one or more persons with 24-hour substitute care, food, lodging, training, education, supervision, habilitation, but which for any reason cannot be furnished in the person's home.
And is that in here someplace that's,
It's already in.
Yeah, it's already an adopted definition in the zoning code currently.
So we don't need to
So
add that.
the reason that I had the assisted living facility definition added is because there is not currently a definition for assisted living facilities within the zoning ordinance.
okay, so within the I'm sorry to be this dumb. but
No, that's okay. I appreciate that.
So in the existing ordinance, there's already a definition for nursing home kind of care, which would include memory care.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
So what we're looking at for this is just the amendment to add the assisted living component?
To add the assisted living definition in the ordinance, but then at the same time, allow it as a permitted use, both assisted living and nursing homes in that specific district. So that's why those two sections of the ordinance amendment are separated out, is because those are different sections of the ordinance that we would be amending.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, no worries.
And I have a question. So you put a motion on the table. does that include the restriction on the height or no?
I didn't address.
Just have that in there,
That's.
right?
Is that already,
that's
that's already,
That's
okay.
in there.
Just
Already
making
in
sure
there.
that that doesn't override what we're,
No.
your as is including.
No.
If you'd like to amend your,
Single story, we have
if you'd like to amend your motion, you most certainly can. If that nursing home definition abides by what you guys feel, then you could amend your motion.
Well, it sounds like it's unnecessary, so I'll withdraw it.
You can, yeah, you can withdraw it or you can amend it as stated.
I think it's cleaner to withdraw it, and then I will motion to accept this amendment as written.
Need a second.
Second.
Any more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, carries 5-0. On to item M.
So this was a question that was brought up at a council meeting, and it has been discussed a couple of times now within the last few months at the planning commission meeting, considering requiring homesteading for any property that is interested in utilizing the city's home extended business interim use permit program. The planning commission essentially reviewed this, and their thoughts were more so the state-issued ID and utility bill could be considered sufficient, and the homesteading requirement would otherwise limit potentially renters from being able to utilize the program, while at the same time, even if they can meet the ordinance requirements as currently written. So after discussion, and the planning commission didn't necessarily change their tone on this. They just provided a motion to recommend denial of the drafted ordinance in front of you. So with that, and I know that this was a little bit of a discussion point that was wanted to be had. But we also held a public hearing for it to have the discussion and then bring the amendment forward in case there was interest by the city council to adopt this tonight.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How many home extended businesses do we have right now where the person is a renter?
I can only think of one.
I can think of one more. Councilmember Henderson.
I think one of my concerns is how broad, like, a home extended business is me making cookies in my kitchen and selling them, and is also storing, like, 30 RVs, and they're all in one pocket, you know what I mean? Like, they're all in one pool. And that, to me, is where I have a little bit of a disconnect, because the person making and selling cookies from their home, do they need to own the home? I would say no. That's a rent, I'm fine with that. But I would be very concerned about a renter who is renting a larger property, deciding that they're gonna go ahead and start a storage business. That feels different to me. And so I think one of my issues is that we all put them into one bucket and act like they're the same.
Yeah, if I could just clarify, because I think
Yeah.
you went through this process with us recently through the administrative home occupation.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that we've had 2 now this year so far that have been approved for administrative home occupations. That is separate and
Okay.
otherwise would not require homesteading at this point. So this is specific to that interim use permit that you would see at Planning Commission and City Council, would not be a requirement for something like you
Okay.
had described.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you. That clarifies that. So then for the 2 renters, those are special ones, the renters? They're not the, you said that there's 2 people who are currently renting that have this. They would be people who are the I don't want to call more complicated version that has to come through.
Yes.
They have
Yes,
those. Okay.
that is correct.
Okay. And I'm just, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot. Maybe you can't answer this. Are those 2 ones that we've had some issues with complaints from neighbors or things like that? Because that's my other concern with these, is that if you are a renter, you might not be as concerned about alienating your neighbors as you are if you are the homeowner. So I feel like these more extended home businesses, one of the big things that I think we need to acknowledge is the impact they have on their neighbors. And I'm not like, this person who owns the land, owns the property, may be more considerate of their neighbors than a renter is.
So
Maybe not.
I guess I'll just say that at least one of them has been one that I have spent a little more time on than normal. in terms of gaining compliance to the property. At the same time, I will say that this is not a retroactive ordinance amendment, where if this was approved, this wouldn't go into place on those interim use permits until they were, one, either revoked, or two, the permit had expired, and at that point, they wouldn't have the opportunity to reapply.
Okay.
Is there a workaround? Like, is there a way to have your cake and eat it too? Because I understand needing that homestead designation. Like, that makes sense to me. Like, it's a home extended business. Like, you need to live there. And we've had a couple that we wonder strongly if you really do live on your property or this property or not. And so I'm just wondering, like, is there a way that we can give an option for renters, or is this an all or nothing? That would be a whole nother ordinance, correct? But like, if that really is the concern that people may be renting, and there's lots of people that rent for all kinds of reasons, and they may want to have some sort of a business and that's okay with their landlord, like, is there a way around another option? Can we create another option where you show your rental agreement, whatever have? Like, is there a way to do that where we're not excluding anybody, but also
Protecting.
you know, what this is supposed to be? Does that make sense?
You know, I would say that if a renter at this point were to come in and ask for an interim use permit for a home extended business, I think that maybe accessing a copy of a rental agreement from the property owner or the tenant in order to suffice that requirement that the person resides there, that'd be something that we would certainly do. I'd have to think about that a little bit more, about what other options there may be to maybe limit this in this certain capacity, but also at the same time allow some latitude for renters within the city. I don't know if I can give you a definitive answer at this point, but I would say that if that question ever comes up, especially throughout the approval process, I guess my encouragement would be to utilize that in the determination of whether this would be an allowed interim use permit or not.
So we could make that decision. Like, if they came forward and said, hey, this is what we want to do, this is all of this, and could we then say,
You're good to go?
yeah, okay, we want to give you this? Can we do that, I guess, is the question.
The way
Or is
that
it sticky?
the way that the home extended business language is written is that at the very last provision is basically a catch-all for the city council that
Can ignore all the rules
you
if
can
you
you
want.
can certainly approve an interim use permit for a home extended business above and beyond the standard requirements, which this would be one of them. So if that was a circumstance where you were interested in allowing a renter and it was clearly incidental and not over expansive of the residential property in nature, you could certainly
And they can
do
prove that they
if-
live there, which is ultimately what we care about.
Correct.
And we could tell them, hey, prove it in
How would they prove it?
With a rental
rental
agreement.
agreement.
Rental agreement doesn't mean they live there.
And that's the other thing too,
I
is that
just-
there's some nuance to there's some nuance to that as well.
On the flip side, the renters doing this are 50%. 50% of them are problematic versus what, 1% of the homeowners who are
That's
doing
up to
this?
the guy that
I
owns
don't
the
know, it
property.
feels like we're trying to legislate
Yeah.
bad neighbors out of
Yeah, I
the
don't-
equation, and I don't think this will do it. So then I'm not sure what problem we're trying to solve. And
I think it's really more understanding what the proposed use is at that time, and kind of deciding at that point, is this specific request for whatever it may be clearly incidental to the principal use of the property, which is single family home in nature. Yes, there are renters that are somewhat problematic sites for compliance and such, but really that would come at the time of approval at that point.
We've seen owners that are problematic too, so
Well, I guess for me, I'm just trying to give the renter the ability to,
they have it.
they have it now.
right, but I think that you should have to prove that you live on the property that you are having a home extended business on. Because I can tell you at least two that I am highly skeptical that they even live there. And we have issues, and we continue to have issues, and I know you don't live on that property, or I don't know, that's an overstep.
If I could just add, I would
Please.
say this didn't happen the original time when this project went through, and I want to keep away from kind of pigeonholing this into one project that we're discussing, but it could be a contingency. Think about these conditions of approval for the interim use permit resolution. Say that we requested an ID that didn't currently have their updated address on it. That could certainly, I would say, be a requirement that if you are claiming that you live on the property, but you don't have an updated ID that shows an address, updating that identification to prove that could be a condition of approval, obviously pending legal, but I don't think that would be out of the ordinary in terms of a request.
And how do you know they stayed there? Let's say they get the permit.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
Aside from, yeah. It does come down to a little bit of a trust thing too, and that it kind of at that point it just is what it is, and for lack of a better answer.
Any more questions?
I have one more question. From staff's perspective, would having this be a requirement make your lives easier or harder?
You know, to be completely honest with you, I don't know if it would change anything with the requirements that we currently have. So.
Yeah, just to note, so, we don't do proactive enforcement, and we have very few zoning complaints. So it's just when there is, it's, neighbor versus neighbor, and it's probably been going on for years until they contacted the city. So, it could go either way. Requiring it to be homesteaded is going to restrict a lot of businesses. In the end, I don't know if it makes a huge difference or not. It will to those individuals.
Okay. I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve, and if everyone else wants to not, that's fine, but.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. Okay, that fails 2-3. Item N.
Okay, Zach, if you go to the next slide.
Sure.
Okay, so this is in relation to site plan review. So a few months ago, we had a site plan, I should back up. What is a site plan review? So we went through one of these tonight with Carvana, or ADESA or Carvana. A site plan review is required for any new construction that's not a single family. So if someone's building a commercial building, it requires site view or site plan, goes through plan commission and council and so on. It adds about a 4 to 6 week process to the permit, issuing the permit. A few months ago, we did a site plan review for the Spaniard project. That was a small, I think it was about a 700 square foot addition on a building. The question came up with was, because this is such a small project, why are we requiring a site plan review? Well, because the ordinance requires it. If you can go to the next slide, Zach. So this kind of brought up the question of, is there a certain threshold that the council would be comfortable with where it's just approved administratively? So the suggestion that we had was if it's below 1,000 square feet and is a 10% addition onto a building that was previously approved as a site plan, it could be approved administratively. The Plan Commission recommended approval as long as the original site plan had been approved within the previous 5 years. So questions from the council?
On the screen, Mayor, Council, on the screen is what happens in other communities around us, just as a general idea, so that you have.
So my personal feeling is our city is in such flux right now, and so many things are zoned one way now and are planned to be zoned differently in the future, and we've got, we're just everywhere. So I still think everything should come through, just because we're in flux. If we were 100% built out and we knew this was always going to stay with the use it currently has, then add 10% to your building, no big deal. But this could be, this could be a big deal. It could mess up where we want to put roads. It could mess up where we want to put utilities. It could mess up where we want to put trails. And there's just too many things that are too unknown at this point. So at this point in our city, I think everything should still come through the site plan review. If we wanted to go one way, I would go with a square foot limit, not a percent limit, because if you're talking about like the cubes, 10% change to the cubes is huge, versus, so I would go with a limit in square foot. If you're going to be less than 1,000 square feet, I could get behind that. Like that's, 30, well, it's not 30 by 30, but like that's a fairly small footprint. So if we're going to do this, I would be if it's less than 1,000 square feet, sure, go ahead. But my personal opinion is too many things are changing in too many places, in too many ways. I think it all has to still get reviewed, even though I appreciate that it's kind of annoying sometimes. And 1,000 square feet would be a 31.6 by 31.6. So if you were just curious.
Can you talk about why the 5 years, within 5 years of an approved site plan, why that's important to us?
The year amount is kind of an arbitrary number. I guess the thought is that it's 5 years is recent, and I don't know if I can give you a good explanation other than that. During the Plan Commission's discussion, it was brought up that, if you're going to expand your business, it's probably going to be more than 5 years from the original building or the original addition.
And so then that would then
We'd
require a
have to
site
go
plan
back and do
review.
a site plan review.
Yeah, the 5-year thing just struck me as odd.
I'm sure when this ordinance was adopted, there was reasoning, but I don't know what that was at that time.
What if we did, I kind of like Sarah's idea, if we did go that route, what kind of impact do you see that making?
So one of the examples given, let's say Carvana built their new building and then decided after the fact that they want to add a car wash. You probably wouldn't see the car wash. That would just be approved administratively. That's probably not, in Carvana's difference or situation, it's probably not going to make a difference to anyone. If you have a house that's next door, it would.
And that's where I'm at. Like, our city is so, like, right now, you could be in a space where you don't have any residents right next to you, but 2 years from now you are. And so that's why I think we do need to, like, be cognizant of that. And we can't really be like, this district, well, we could, I guess, technically be this district you can and this district you can't, but like, so that's why I'm a no to this. Or if everyone's yes, I would say the 1,000 square feet would be my.
And remove the percentage, correct?
I would just remove the percentage period. It has to be less than 1,000 square feet.
Okay. Just want to make sure it's clear with what.
Because that would, the Spanier one, which triggered this whole conversation, would fall under that, because it's a tiny little addition, and that was the whole point. Like, that's very minor. I wouldn't.
It seems like that's a safer move.
Yeah.
To just limit it to
You made a motion, right?
I didn't make a motion. I'm just.
Not yet.
Well, because my motion is my vote is no. I'm just, if you're gonna all go that way, that would be my recommendation.
Well, I think some of these are really petty, and to make them wait a month seems kind of silly on some of them, but it does seem like having 1,000 square foot limit is, I'd go there. I'd be okay with that.
I would as well. I think it buys some grease so people aren't waiting months to add a lean-to to
Right.
park the lawn tractor under.
Okay, I'll make a motion to make it 1,000 square feet, period.
I'll second it.
And just for clarity, are you keeping the 5-year thing or dropping the 5-year thing?
I
would
like the
drop it.
5-year thing.
What?
I don't like the 5-year thing.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
We'll drop that too.
Does that make sense?
So the 10% in the 5 years are not.
Or no 10%, just the 1,000?
Yeah, those
Yeah.
both.
Oh, you're dropping.
Drop
Okay.
it, yeah.
Okay, so we got a motion by Scott and second by,
David.
Still me.
oh, I missed it. Any more discussion? And is that clear what?
Yep.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries 4-1. On to item O.
Thank you. So, this one, staff is requesting approval to go out for an RFP to do a park facility needs analysis. There's two parts to this. One is to do an inventory of facilities that are used by Dayton youth. So this, whether that be in Dayton or outside of Dayton. The second part of this is for the consultant to recommend essentially a needs, assuming that the city has a population of 30,000. So essentially, how many sport fields are needed and what is the threshold where the next one is needed. So the idea, if you think of like a baseball or softball wheel that's built in 4 or 5 fields, do you need to build 4 fields when you only need 1? So the map at the left, there's red dots that represent sports facilities or sport fields that are open to Dayton residents based on the 15 different athletic associations that are open for Dayton residents to use. So generally, I think most of us think of just as the CDA or Champlin Dayton Athletic Associations. There's a lot more than that. The CDA covers Dayton and Champlin, but if you, for example, if you live within the Maple Grove School District, you're probably using Maple Grove Sports Associations. The graph at the right represents participation numbers from CDA since between 2011 and 2025. For the blue number is Champlin residents, the orange is Dayton, and the green is non-residents. So for the most part, those are probably going to be Brooklyn Park kids that live within the Champlin Park attendance area. So again, for the first part of doing the inventory, a lot of this is more labor intensive of the consultant contacting the 15 youth sports athletic associations in inventorying what fields they use, where, and for what purpose. And again, the second part is figuring out, okay, now that we know what the exact needs are, where does that fit within Dayton?
I'm fine with this study. I think this is, in my mind, I think this is valuable because I think it's silly to duplicate what our neighboring communities have already built. I like this idea of what are the needs that are not being met nearby, and what are the holes that we can plug. So I really appreciate that part of it. I also like that it is acknowledging that that we have residents who are not just part of the CDA, that there's Maple Grove and Rogers are also here. So I'm fine with this, and I think it feeds directly into our 2050 comprehensive plan. So I feel like it's work we need to do anyway, and it's just feeding into that. And so I think I liked this, and I thought it was a good idea.
When's the last time one was done?
I don't think it's ever been.
We've never done
Right,
one
I
there.
was gonna say, we've never, so that's why I'm kind of wondering where this came from. Because it just seems like we kind of know that we kind of have an idea we need something at some point. I don't know what this is gonna get us that we don't know, that we don't.
Well, this
We
tells
can't
us,
figure
what
out.
do we need? Do we need baseball, soccer, football?
Want me to tell you what it's gonna say? And we're gonna spend 30 grand to do it. That's my concern.
There's a waste of 30 grand in my opinion, but whatever.
Is it one of our strategic objectives?
You're not gonna
Isn't
you're not
this
gonna
on
use
there?
it for 15, 20 years.
Oh, boy.
I think it is.
You're going to have to give me a moment. I can check, but
Oh, it's
I think it is one of our, here,
I
I
just had it up on the slide.
what do you mean?
yeah.
go back a previous slide or forward one.
It's in the packet.
It's in the packet. I know. I was like, I
It's
literally
in
just saw this
relationship
with
to
my own
council
eyes. Yes.
goals. We have it in our goals.
Yeah, it's right there.
We're fulfilling a goal.
That's where I saw
and
it.
getting valuable information.
Not that I'm looking at your screen, Dennis, but it's highlighted in yellow, and so it caught my eye.
But this just says what we already know.
Oh, there it is.
Acquire land for a community park of 40-plus acres.
But I think to
Well,
my
depending on what you put there,
Yes.
will tell you how many acres you need.
yes, because it might be one single 40-acre parcel, or it could be a 20-acre parcel here and a 20-acre parcel there, which might be actually more practical and more affordable.
I was going to say that also.
And so that to me, that's what this helps us identify. Like, do we need a single big giant location?
You know what? Maybe I'm studied burned out because I've seen too many studies come back and we just blew the money. So
And I haven't because I'm this is only year 2.
yeah, I get it.
But to me, I feel like we're at this point of, and it just also I don't know how often all you go into Rogers, but I see their big, ginormous like covered field all the time. Like we don't need to build another one of those.
They got more money than we do.
I understand that, and that's my point. Is all these rich communities around us have already built stuff. Let's identify what they've already built and not rebuild it.
It's kind of a side issue, but they had that paid for it.
Yeah,
It was not taxpayer money.
yeah.
So,
Let's-
anyways, but it's still ugly. Sorry, Shannon.
It is ugly. I'm going to second
It's
that.
very large.
How much of this study is actually needed for the next comp plan?
Number 2 on here is, recommend what facilities are needed based on our population. So, I mean, kind of, if we just do number 2, there's a chance that we could overbuild or underbuild too. So if we build a bunch of soccer fields and then find out that, the neighboring city has a bunch of soccer fields, then we built in excess. Or we built the wrong thing.
And also this says, depending on what we find, if we go for a more regional thing, there's other monies we can access to build a regional thing.
Yeah, so a regional facility has the potential of getting state funding. Now, where the state is, they're not giving out money right now. So that's something to consider, several years from now, I guess.
What describes regional? I mean, is it 2 cities? Is it 5?
I mean, in short, if you're a tourist destination, so if you're bringing in tournaments and you're attracting teams from out of town, not just in the North Metro, but across the state.
So those people with their traveling basketball teams, they're coming here.
Yes.
Or the traveling
Or
soccer
soccer.
teams, or the traveling,
So,
yeah.
the sports center would be kind of an extreme example of that, but.
And is anybody going to tell me this is beneficial to do this now? Because you're not going to do anything for 15 or 20 years.
I think so because A, we're doing the plan in the first place. That's the whole point of plans. And B, I think the bigger part is if we do find that we need to buy a larger chunk of a 40-plus acre parcel, there are less and less and less of them every year, and the cost of that land is going up and up and up and up. And even if we're not going to build it for 10 years, if we don't buy that land in the next year or 2, we might never be able to buy that land ever.
I think we've already decided that we are looking for 40+. I mean, we've discussed this in the past.
Yeah, your
We
lot could have been
are.
a park.
Yeah, I know. I had many conversations with your previous mayor about that.
Okay.
I'm with you, Sarah. I think
Okay.
it's a good idea because I'm pro.
Pro studies.
Well,
maybe
no,
not
I'm pro,
studies,
I'm
but,
pro
like-
the park. I mean, I have.
I just want to make an informed
little
decision.
children. I know, I agree. I feel like we're spinning our wheels, and if we say everything is 15 to 20 years, God damn it, in 15 to 20 years, everything's coming to fruition because everything. I'm sorry, Scott, to call you out, but everything
gonna
is
be
not
dead by
15 to
then.
20
Well,
years.
the rest of us aren't. Like, to have a
My kids
plan.
won't be.
Okay.
I don't
So,
know. I'm
I
here
need
for
a motion
it.
and a second.
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Hold on here. Okay, no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
No. Okay. On to item P.
You can beat it to death some more if you want.
Oh, we will, next year.
Next
Or
time.
in 6 months or 3 months. Item P, payment of claims.
Mayor, Member Council, we stand for any questions you may have about payment of claims.
I have a question on page, that can't be right. Oh, no, okay, hold up, I wrote the wrong page number down. I gotta find my page number, someone else asked, Dave, you have to have a question.
I don't have any issues here, so I
I'm
gotta go
good.
see a man about it.
I did have a number of questions, but I emailed about them and I got all my questions answered.
Come on, Dave.
Oh, well,
There was one where it was the same thing 3 times and it specifically has the same order number. Adobe, it was Adobe, where is it?
What was the amount?
6,880. No, wait, that wasn't it. Where is it? Dang it.
say this.
So there's a couple of them I could think of. If you can keep looking, I'll try to.
I'm looking.
I'll fill the time. So Mayor, Members of Council, there's 2 of them that I could think of. One of them would have been related to Microsoft Office 365. That's from Guidance Point. So we paid $621 3 times. The reason for that is it's October, November, December, because they forgot to bill us for 3 straight months. So that's 3 payments right in a row, and it's an annual. We pay monthly, but it's an annual charge on a monthly basis. So it's the same amount. It just happens to be 3 times.
That may have been it then,
The
'cause it
other
was
one that I
3
could think
times.
of otherwise is Adobe. So this happened to be the year that the League of Minnesota LMC decided that they weren't going to host Adobe for us anymore.
Okay.
So we had to find somebody else to host it for us. We found CDW to host it for us, to be able to give us a larger bulk rate on Adobe. We cut a check to Adobe before the council meeting, had a council approval of it. Then we gave it to CDW. They processed the check. They still wouldn't give us Adobe. We had no access to Adobe. They said that they needed a 14-day cooling period for the check to go through. And we said, no, we need Adobe now. I don't have time to wait to not have a PDF. And they said, well, you have to wait 14 days for the cooling period. And I said, well, that's not possible. I can't do that. I can't stop for 14 days and not work. So then I used my credit card to pay for it because it was done immediately. We can get Adobe the following day, and then we had to get a refund back for the check that we already gave. It was a mess. So those are the 2 things I can think of that you maybe,
And I
because that was
did-
about $6,000 or so.
Well, yes,
For
I think
Adobe.
that was my other one. But this is, I found the page, it's 226, I had 206, so that's where my mistake was.
Okay.
And it is Adobe Acrobat, and it's ordered, and it's, like I said, it's the same order, PRD J102, and it's
Yep.
there 3 separate times.
Yep.
And it totals out to about $4,000
Yeah,
off
you
of
got
mine.
it.
That was
And the
it.
reason
Okay.
for it is because it was on my credit card in December, and the credit card in December is paid in January, and then that's why it's on this council meeting, is to
Okay.
approve it, even though I technically had paid for it back then. We
Got
did
it.
get the refund back already.
Okay,
Oh, boy, middle of January, early January,
Is
something like
there-
that, so.
okay.
Is there a reason why we don't have a credit card?
What do you mean? We do have a credit card.
Why didn't you use that then?
I did. So we were informed when we first got CW that there would be a charge on that. So right now, we use the credit card, we have a called the P card, and there's a percentage back that we get by using it. So if we utilize it and we spend over, I think the number is $1 million in the card, which are normal processes anyways, we get a 1% refund back on that just for using the card. Basically, similar to what you have for a
Yeah.
rewards program that you have on any personal card. And then that check would go back to the city as interest. That's all it works. And it's less than, if you don't spend that much, then it's less percentages.
Yeah.
So we do have that.
Okay.
However, we don't want to save 1% on a
And pay
card
a 3.5%.
and pay 3.5%
Yeah, that
charge
makes sense.
on
Yeah.
anything. So anything that we get charged the number for, we've elected to not pay with the card because that makes no sense.
Yeah.
But that was what CDW had told us, and then when I asked them to pay with a card, they said, oh yeah, there's no charge for that. So then, that would have solved the problem
Got
they
it.
would have
I
told
get
us
it.
to begin with. So.
All right.
And I did find my other one, this is on page 228, and it's program supplies, $6,880. I'm just curious what program that was, that's all.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
It just, and it's,
Pause.
okay.
Gotta figure out what it is. What is the code that it's coded to?
The 101,
What's the rest of the code?
41910-50210.
So that'd be something with Activity Center.
Okay, oh, that's, okay. I need
Marty,
to
do
get
you
better
have
about
the-
looking up those codes.
Marty, do you know what that one is? The only thing I can think of is
What
it's
was the
something,
number?
It's for how much?
$6,000.
Maybe I read my finger moved. 101, 41910.
That is for our, yeah, I got it. So it was on my credit card. That is related to the year-end recap meeting that we had.
Oh, okay, okay.
Which is the, thing at Sundance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the amount for the food and all the
Got it.
things and stuff. So.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then the other one was just, what's Cat and Company?
Yep. Mayor, members of council, that is our app program.
Oh, okay.
And we decided to do a lower rate, so we paid for 3 years in advance, and then we got a lower rate for annual usages. We also learned that we have help with that app, which we didn't know we had when we first originally got it, which means we don't have to post everything on there. We just send them stuff, and they will post it for us.
Nice.
So as part of that $12,000, we got 3 years of them hosting it, and then on top of it, they also help us with things. So we'll just send them stuff from our website or social media or whatever, and then they post it for us automatically, which is extremely helpful that we didn't realize we had. So
Awesome. Thank you. Those are my things.
I have one question, and that's for Chief Hendrickson. Engine 21. I feel like we've been having a lot of issues with it. It's come up a lot in the last 12 months.
Yeah,
What we got
so
going on there?
a lot of it's due to age.
Okay.
So this was a pneumatic valve, if you're referring to the 6228 cost. From
Yeah.
EAM. So as a pneumatic valve, the valve itself is almost $3,200, and then a few ancillary things. The biggest thing is trying to get at it, because it's to the back of the truck and almost to the middle of the truck, so that's where you have $1,700-ish with labor. So, yeah, unfortunately, I thought rebuilding a valve normally is about $3,000 because they can just physically rebuild it and put it back in, but this one had to buy a whole new one because this is the pneumatic one. So as we continue to spec trucks as we move forward, Engine 12 currently has quite a bit of electric valves, and those are expensive to replace. So when we go to spec the truck in July with Pierce, the idea is to find as many ways that we can use manual valves as possible, because we spend a ridiculous amount of money on having to rebuild and replace some of these just to make it convenient by pressing the button.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. All those opposed say no. That carries 5-0. Item Q.
Mayor, members of council, this is an approval to approve LeVander, Gillen, and Miller as the city attorney and cancel the contract with Campbell, Knutson. We had myself, Assistant City Administrator Benting, Mayor Fisher, and Vice Mayor Fashioned on interviews last week on Thursday. They both went very well. We feel like either one of the selections that we would make would be, an improvement from where we're at currently, from the relationship with the attorney. And so the interview committee for the attorneys suggested LeVander, Gillen, and Miller as the city attorney moving forward. The panel will stand for any questions if you have any.
Was it unanimous, like yay, or was it a little?
Mostly unanimous.
You know what? Both were good.
Okay,
Both of them, I think we've been in good shape with.
okay.
It was just
A slight preference.
slight
Yeah,
preference.
my feeling is, well, that I would say that I lean toward this one, but either of them could certainly do the job. For my own feeling, I thought, some of this is around personalities that we're working with, and I would feel comfortable working with either firm. And the specific attorney that they were talking about being our representative, I felt like the other group was a lot stronger on the prosecuting side than kind of on the municipal side. This is what these guys really specialized in, was the municipal side, and that sort of swayed me to lean toward them.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
So this is both an approval of LeVander and also an approval of canceling the contract with Campbell, Knutson, which is a 30-day contract cancellation, just an FYI.
Need a second?
Oh, I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
I think, Sarah,
I think Sarah was on there.
Oh, okay.
Sarah
I'll
did.
third.
It's been a long night, and I was like, did I say that out loud or only in my head?
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. That carries 5-0. Okay. If there are no objections,
Objection?
said if there are no objections, we'll be adjourned. We're adjourned.
You've done this.